How's everyone doing? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Doing good. How you doing?
Oh, doing good. I was in a very, very long deposition. That's why I had to push the call.
Oh man, it's a terrible reason to push a call.
Oh yeah. It should not have gone as long as it did. But at the end of the day, it's just answering questions. So um yep. Just one of those things. And you know the thing is, we probably could have made it on time, but the guy told me he wasn't be done. And I think he was doing it to mess with me more than anything else. So we're gonna let people kind of load on. Yeah, again, you guys, everyone hopped on just now. Apologize for the change. I was in a long deposition for an employment thing, and it went longer than it was supposed to. So we're gonna get everyone. I'm gonna let everyone kind of roll in. What's everyone got going on? As we're going, Alex, how's your flip doing?
Sorry, I couldn't mute. We're almost done. I think we're a little delayed, so maybe like 4 weeks out because we haven't started the outside, but the inside is almost done. We have tile, we have flooring and drywall, paint. We just need cabinets and like baseboards and doors and stuff.
Oh, it's in trim out mode.
Yeah,
I mean, you
yeah,
guys moving?
yeah. I think we could have moved a lot faster, but for the first time, like planning things like took longer, finding the right people.
Yep.
But yeah, next time will be quicker.
Yeah. How's the market doing out there?
I don't know because like in my little area, I still don't have any data points. Like all the sales like haven't been for renovated properties. Like so I don't know. But I am hearing it's like a buyer's market. I just don't know enough yet. But summer's usually dead. Everyone's on vacation.
It's a little humid out there too.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
yeah, no, what are the fixers selling for around you?
Well, there was one. I don't know when they sold. They're like old. They sold a while back. Like there was one that sold in August, and that's like a young girl that's moving in. She's fixing it up. And then there's another one. I have to look it up. That one's being demoed. I don't remember when it sold. But she paid close to what I paid, and she I think has like a 2-1, slightly less square
Okay.
footage, but the interior wasn't as bad as mine, but it's still old. And then we have this active on the corner. It's been there forever because I think it's overpriced and they had like a violation issue they were trying to sort out. So I'm still not clear if they got it resolved. It's like for 1.2, but I think that's just way too much for the area.
Oh yeah, because what's your target price?
790.
Yeah, so this is what I want you to do. I want you,
Yeah.
you guys, as you guys are getting ready, finishing up projects, whoever your brokers are, you want to just make sure, have them go a little bit wider on the comps and go like a mile out, and then just get the actives and the pendings right now. And just do it from like, have them put it on a search from like 700 to 900. Because what we want to do is just see where the absorption rate's going and how that's doing. I don't know. My camera just kicked off. It's weird.
Question
Uh,
about going far
oh
out.
wait, there you go.
So like should we go far out to like a worse neighborhood because I'm next to two really great neighborhoods and I know I don't have those values.
Well, it's not going to be a direct comp. It's just going to tell you about absorptions and kind of like what's going on with the market activity. Because
Okay.
you don't have a lot of direct competition in your area either. And
Yeah.
so just do it because you don't have any data points that are really showing you pros or negatives right now. So just kind of look at what's going on as far as it's just good to watch that stuff in the next 4 weeks because you can see some go active and some will go pending. And how long did that take? And it's just a good way to kind of set yourself up. So when you list, you're going, okay, this is kind of what's going on in the area.
Okay. There
And
is
so,
this. Go ahead, sorry.
yeah, just because you're looking at the old solds and there's not a lot of recent ones. So let's just look at what's going on with the activity and buyers and price points.
Okay, I'll ask him for that. Thank you.
Yeah. No, it'll be good just to kind of watch it, right?
Yeah.
Because trying to see if I can get this camera working again. My other one, but I don't know what happened. Just bought a brand new camera and it's not working. But yeah, you guys, anybody that's got stuff listing, I'm just really paying attention to what's going on with the activity and just the velocity of the market, right? And you can go a little wider, and it's just good to see, like, okay, well, how many actives are coming on? How many listings are coming on right now? What's going pending? And then just also just seeing how long they go pending, because it sets your expectations. Because the last thing we want to do is list a property and go, it didn't sell, and start freaking out. And so we want to just kind of go in logical. So it's just good to kind of prep yourself for that.
Okay, I'll start asking for that.
Yeah, it's easy for them to do because they can put you on an auto search
Mm-hmm.
and just make it basic, just a mile out, 7 to 900, and just kind of see where the velocity is.
Okay. Thank
And then
you.
you can kind of dig in and look at streets, and we can kind of look at that from there.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll bring that in. That'll be good to look at.
Cool. Cool. All right, guys. Well, we got more people kind of slowly logging on. We're going to talk about cutting up a deal for everyone that kind of logged on late. I'm sorry, I had a long deposition that went way too long, and so I had to push it. So you know what? We're gonna give it just like another couple minutes, just because we're a little delayed. And the cutting up, you guys, what we're gonna cover tonight, um, is I want you guys to just kind of, we're gonna grab a deal, and actually, this is a property I sent to someone in our group. I'm gonna talk about why I'm offering it the way I'm offering it, what's going on, why it makes sense for me to offer a partnership, and the way that I'm structuring that deal. And then we're going to play with different structures on the deal. And because I want people to just kind of open their eyes, as you know, we have some really good operators in here. We have some other people that are heavily funded and they're trying to get their bearings. And how do we kind of look at those deals and go, is this a good investment or not? Or is this worth my time to partner with someone? And so we're going to play with this calculator, and I'm going to cut it up a bunch of different ways and just kind of do it live with you guys. And I'm going to even pull up the email that I sent the person in the group. So, because I think it's really important. Like, I'm a very experienced operator. I can operate all of my deals, but there's some things that I'm really good at, and there's some things I'm okay at. And then there's also a bandwidth issue of, you know, I have a team, and what I've learned is I don't want to push my team too hard, because then things start becoming inefficient. And there's this kind of sweet spot. And the sweet spot is, I know we can take on a certain amount of projects that they're good at doing. And so I try to keep my team focused on what they're really good at doing. And if I have a deal now that's outside of that core box, I bring in operator partners, because it allows me to keep money working and growing, and also allows my team not to get kinked, because I don't want my other projects getting affected because we're doing something a little bit different. And so, why don't we do this? We got a couple more people logging on, and then I'm going to pull this up. Anyone else have anything they want to kind of bring up as we kind of get going? I know you guys all got projects going on. So, well, let's just pull this up. We're 7 minutes in. All right. So let's.
James, can I ask a quick question? It's been a while.
Oh yeah, how are you?
Good, good. How are you?
Doing good. Just
Good.
been trying to price out things in Arizona right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. What are you finding?
I just a lot of people blowing hot air.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you ask them a question like, "Hey, can you send me the quote on this?" And they want to talk to you about a million different opportunities. And it's like, "Wait, can you just send me the quote?"
Yeah.
It's
Oh yeah. Maybe
yeah.
a little squirrely to nail down. So
Yes, they are.
yeah. Yeah.
They're. I'm like, no, I'm not going to build a house with you right now. I can't even get a quote for this renovation.
Yeah, I've been finding the new build like spec homes. I've been watching a few of them and they've been sitting. Like all the Arcadia Light have been really sitting. Major price reductions. Like I'm talking like $500,000 price reductions.
They're so overpriced as it is, though.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like, I mean, like we paid $800 a foot for our house, and there's homes listed for like $1,300 a foot.
Yeah, they're crazy.
Yeah, it's like I think they're like anticipating that they're gonna take a low offer.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
I've noticed that.
yeah.
Definitely don't want to be in the luxury market down there right now.
For sure. No. So I've even found like I haven't been able, I've been putting in offers on flips, but the margins have still been so tight. So I kind of reshifted my focus. And I talked to Shannon about this since she's my accountability buddy. And I picked up my next rental.
Oh,
So yeah. Um, so that's what I'm going to be working on here. But I just wanted to ask like a just quick advice, doesn't have to get into numbers and stuff. How much renovation would you tend to put in? Like I'm kind of deciding on the rentability factor. If I remodel, it's a 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath with 1,400 square feet. So it's a nice size to squeeze all that in. Um, and the bathrooms are original, so I feel like everything else looks good, but the bathrooms are still kind of an eyesore just because they're old. I can renovate the 2 main baths with like I'm talking everything new. New tub, new fixtures, new cabinets, countertops for just under 10,000. And then update the little half bath too. So I don't want to put too much. I don't know if I should spend the money there or just throw a renter in it right away. But that's kind of my question.
well, what did the rent comp say? Are they nicer bathrooms?
Well, no, they're all like original. So
Then
most of
then
them
I
are
wouldn't really dust it up too much.
okay.
A lot of times if I'm trying to match what the tenants are going to be anyways and what I'm trying to
Okay.
do, I might like resurface the tubs and
Uh-huh.
just so they look a little, and that costs a couple $100 typically.
Okay. To do
And one
some.
thing that we've done too is like if it's like old white tile, is we'll actually chisel out just like a little 2 pieces of it and put it in a little accent
Okay.
through, and then we resurface the rest so it looks brand new and it doesn't cost
Got it.
much.
Okay. So do a resurface versus ripping it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if the comps don't say to do it, I wouldn't do it
I
because it's still gonna get wear and tear. Like
right.
sometimes I lean into my rentals and I'll push the specs up, but I did it recently on one, and it's because the rent comps were like 3,800, but they weren't that nice, and I was kind of in the middle. So then I put a little bit more money into like some wainscoting, some tile backsplashes, and then I was able to rent it for 4,250 a month.
Okay. So it's in a really nice neighborhood. So it's like, it's got all the great things for families who want to be in it. It's a pool, it's a townhome, that overlooks the pool. So it's probably the best unit in the property. Um, and the bathrooms are a little bit more beat up than I would say the comps. So that's where I'm like, it'd be so easy for me to renovate. Um, thanks to all the experience here. But
I mean, if it's a little bit lesser, then maybe I would do it because I'm like,
yeah.
oh, if it's gonna be a little bit. And what's your rent price on it?
Where you should be at 2,200 a month, and then if we renovate, I'm probably going to ask for like 24. I know I can't push it too much, but I think 24 would still be pretty. And I think if I left it unrenovated, I would maybe, you know,
Might take an extra month of rent type thing
yeah,
too.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I would rather not have the property vacant. That's the other thing I'm considering because I know that is a big factor too. Is like I want the property to move.
Yeah, it's you guys, so like what I would do with that, because there is a little bit of math in there, right? It's you can if you put in how much so what I always think about is like, okay, if it's a little bit lagging and you notice the ones that are really clean rent quickly, then that's a loss of rent of $2,400 a month, right?
Right.
And so that will be 1 month rent loss, as I'm looking at the data. And then the other thing I'm going to look at too is how much do you think the renovation would cost?
Just under 10, and that's again if I do everything new. So I could even scale back the renovation, maybe do about 7,000 and like leave the tub, but put tile on the in the shower and then on the floor. I want to do new vanities with all new sinks because the sinks are kind of just disgusting looking. Not
Yeah.
disgusting, they're just not appealing. They're not bad, but they just look like an old rental.
Yeah, and sometimes you can
Um,
just throw a cheap
yeah,
vanity in there for the same price almost.
right.
And so, like what I always like to do, it's just like, well, can I get more, right? So if I can potentially, let's say you can even get $100 more a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
Times that by 12, that's
Awesome.
$1,200. And then you're dividing that by $10,000. And that's going to be your return on that's 12%.
Okay.
And you think it's going to rent faster. So you might even make
Yeah.
a little bit more on that.
Okay.
And so if I'm looking at making a 10% higher ROI to do the upgrade, I'm typically going to do it.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of answers my question right there. So that's the calculation I was missing. I didn't know how to like mathematically put it into play. So, because I realistically think that $200 more plus it'll move faster, and yeah. Okay. So that's my answer right there. I think I'm gonna go ahead and go forward with it.
Yeah, no, I think you guys, that's for everybody on the call. Like, just like we do with flipping rentals, we do the same thing. If we think we need to do it, we want to replace it with very durable product, right? That's going to last a long time.
Mhm.
LVP, and if I can get a little bit more money and I have less wear and tear, and I'm going to also reduce my maintenance spend because carpet's going to get more beat up. I always want to look at, okay, well, the best way to do it in a logical way is if my buy box for a rental, which is a 10% return, is what I'm shooting for typically.
Okay.
If I can invest the money and make higher than 10% on it, so the cash in by the income divided by the income that I can gain by doing the upgrades, if it's higher than that 10%, I'm going to do it
Okay.
because it's a good overall return on my investment.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I know absolutely we can get $100 more a month. So
Yeah, if
that'll.
you get 200, you're going to be making 20% more on your.
Okay.
And so that I think that if it was me, I'd do it.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, just be thrifty, shop the clearance.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And again, like what I just told Haley, guys, like sometimes you can be very thrifty on like how to, if I have an old shower and it's got a bunch of, 4x4 white squares and they're beat up and they're kind of gross, and I'm going to resurface it anyways, to have my guys chisel out two pieces of that all the way over and then put in like a backsplash or just a different type of tile, even if it's a different subway tile, different color, just to give it a little bit of flavor. It cost me like $300 for them to knock that out and put it in, and then I resurface it, and it's going to save me like $1,000 on the overall surround. And so, those are things you can upgrade and not go crazy on it too. Or if you got to replace your sinks and your faucets and all that, well, you can also find a vanity that's all in one, and it's only going to cost you about $100 more to put that vanity in. And so, but the key equation is how much do you have to put in? How much are you going to get on your rents? Divide that, the cash invested by the overall return. And if it's higher than what you're buying on your cash flow, if you're buying an 8% deal and you're making 10, it's a good investment because you're raising the investment. And so, and then always think about, can I rent this faster? Because one loss of rent is $2,400. That will add up dramatically. And so those are the decisions I've just trained my brain to make the decision that way. Can I get more? Now, if I can't get more and it's not going to rent any better, then maybe I leave it alone and we just go light and make sure it's just really fresh and clean. So, cool. And you guys, you can do cheap things to upgrade, like in your rentals. We'll do a topic on this, like like what I did on a rental. It was just kind of boring on the inside, and so we went and got that paneling at Home Depot that was really thin, and it was like $40 a sheet. It took a guy 3 hours to nail it all into the wall. We painted it white as an accent bright color, and all of a sudden made the whole room feel good for like $500. And so like little things like that can go a long ways. You don't need to spend a ton on the rentals. So, all right, well, we're gonna pull this up, guys. So now that everyone's on, or not everyone, but a good, we're gonna be talking about deal structures. And so you guys, as we're investors, and there's so many different, the cool thing about our community, there's so many different types of investors in here. There's buy and hold, there's flippers, there's developers, there's passive. It's how do we make the right decision with the right investment? Like, are we investing in the right thing? Or are we raising the capital and are we doing it in the right way? And, like I was talking earlier, I'm an experienced operator. I feel pretty confident that I can figure out any kind of deal, especially in my backyard of Seattle. But figuring out a deal takes time, it takes money, and when you're not doing your core business, there's inefficiencies that happen, and the inefficiencies lead to loss of return. And for me, I'm a very experienced operator. We have 30, 40 projects usually going at a time. But what I've learned on scaling is I need to make sure that my core team is working on what they're really, really good at. And if I add in any random deal that maybe is very similar, but a little bit different, we're not as efficient on that. And then it also causes other inefficiencies across the board, across my other projects, because they're spending more time trying to figure something out, or there's more headaches that they're navigating at this point. And so for me as an experienced operator, I will bring in other operators and contractors on certain types of projects because it's a great deal. I know what the plan is that I want. I just need someone there more on site to make sure it goes smoother. And then it also doesn't kink my other team to where they can keep doing what they're doing. So I'm making more money on the projects that I'm working on and then giving away some on projects that I might not want to pass on, but it's not going to kink my system. So like right now, I have a few projects going on with general contractors I've worked with for a long time. They were big fixers. They were full permit. They need someone there a little bit more on site because they're just big, big projects. And I bring in these operator partners because it just allows me to be more efficient. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to pull up a deal that I'm bringing in an operator partner on. And the reason I'm doing it is just a deal that doesn't quite meet our bread and butter. Like my team is really, really good at turning flip properties. We have gotten very, very efficient over the last 12 months. And I want to keep them focused on what they're doing. And so I had a great opportunity given to me though in an area called Beacon Hill. And in this area, the reason it's such a great opportunity is A, it's a good location, but it has this massive backyard and you can build an ADU in the back or build two and be very, very efficient. But the team that I was working on to build my ADUs for me, I'm not really happy with them and I got rid of them. And so I have a gap in that team. And if I have a gap in the team, but it's a good deal, I'm going to bring in an operator that really knows how to operate these kind of deals. And so, what we're really going to go over is how do you set that deal up in your offering and what is your return and what's the benefit? And we're going to pull up the partnership calculator and I'm going to play around with that and how you guys can offer it. So for the people that are operating, how not to give away too much, but then also for the people that are investing in people's deals, how do you look at this right? And are you getting what you should be getting out of the deal? Because I do think one mistake a lot of times people make is they always want 50-50 or they want they have this expectation when they need to look at the deal very holistically. Okay, and so what we have here is here's for our buddy Raleigh who's on the call. I sent this over to him, and I don't even know if we're doing this deal yet, Raleigh, which I'll call you tomorrow on. And so you guys, the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I've watched Raleigh grow in this program and he's killing it. So I feel very confident investing with Raleigh. But there's also a bunch of other people that I do these deals with. And and I'm going to talk about how we structure those deals. So right now, I sent him over a deal. This is a basic email. It says, here's a deal that I was telling you about. It's a street access, long, deep lot. Randomly, we fit the house 2 houses down, which is pretty crazy, and we sold it fully renovated, nice for $575 back in 2010. I should have kept that one. The house reminds me of a Weekend Warrior special. It's been upgraded. I give them a basics on what the house is, how I comp the house. Comped it at 115. I think it could go to 1.2 if the market holds because of the location, and what the upgrades that we're going to put into it is. And then I talk about the overall investment that we can either put one dadu in the back, which is going to feel more like a house. That's why I like this deal. You can get a nice unit 2-bed, 2.5 bath, 3-bed, 2.5 bath with a 1-car garage and a big yard. I'm gonna pull it up. Or you can even put 2 in the back and then sell, if we sell the 1 in the back is just a straight dadu deal, it would be worth $850 because of the parking, the yard, and the street access. It's a good overall unit, which I do like selling that way. If we put 2 in the back, I thought they could be worth in the low 7s up to mid 7s. And so there's some upside in the deal. I give them the location. I give them the general information on the property, which is it's currently a 3-bed, 3-bath. We need to create a 4-bed, 4-bed, 3-bath with a formal master. Have the house fully finished at 1,990 square feet. And this is what the scope of work is that I think we need to do based on the comps that I saw. So even though I'm tapping the operator's not telling me what we're going to do. I'm saying this is what we need to accomplish to hit the numbers. We're going to rework the main floor, create it to a 3-bed, 2-bath. We're going to install the stairs because they're hidden in the they're hidden in the walls right now. There's no access to the basement. We're going to add mini split systems, update the cabinets, kitchen renovation. All bathrooms need to be reworked. All new flooring, millwork doors, kitchen, everything's getting updated on this. The reason you guys, when you're a passive investor, that if the operator's bringing me the deal, they're going to have a plan. But if I'm bringing it to an operator, I need to have a plan because the operator might be really good at renovating, but they don't really understand the investment. And so when I deliver it to that operator, I'm saying, this is what we need to do on this project. Here's the numbers on it. Purchase price is $850,000. Estimated rehab for the house is $150,000. Value is 1.15. Dadu in the back is $850 or $750 with 2 in the back, depending on whether we get parking. I reran the numbers at $700 a unit just to be conservative. Then the operator has pictures because we want to make sure that the operator likes the project in general. And you guys, this is not a bad house. It's just freaking weird. That people have re-roofed it, they've sided it, but it's just not done in a way anyone's going to want to buy. The flow is terrible. Neighbors aren't great. We've been trying to buy that house for a while. Stick someone else back on it. But as you can see, it's not a terrible property, but it's not a property that's going to sell for top dollar. We have the comps, so they can see it. So even though I'm bringing it to the operator needs to know it's worth their time. So I have my comps prepared for the single family house. Then we have the comps for the dadu. This is here's the comp range for what we can build. There was a house, it was a 2-bed, 2-bath that sold for $775,000. And then there was one that was a 3-bed, 3-bath with bigger parking, kind of more like what we're going to have, that's $825,000. Now, the good thing about our comps is they are way down here so they can see where they are, right? Because anytime you guys were bringing any kind of investment, we want to make sure that they have all the information in front of them. Our property is located in North Beacon up here. This is worth more than down here. And so I can feel fairly comfortable, even though I have no data points, saying, well, our property is worth $850 because this area is just worth usually about 10 to 15% less. So $850 is very conservative. So now the operator can look at it and go, okay, well, this could be a lot of work, but this could be worth my time. So after we've done that, how do I figure out what I'm going to offer someone? And this is our partnership calculator. Now, you guys, there's so many different ways that you can. Oh, this is not the partnership calculator. This is the dadu calc. I got to pull up the partnership calc. But here's the rough pro forma on this deal. So $850, $150 in the budget, sell for $115, have it for 5 months total. After it sells, the house is going to lose $294. Then over here, if we build the dadu and we sell it for $850 and it costs $350 to build, which I think we could be less by bringing in the operator, but I'm going to put in the $350. Then we have our real estate commissions, back everything out. There's $397,000 in profit on this deal. Now, the cash that I got to come up with to get this deal done is $193,000. And so the reason I will look at bringing in an operator partner is because I can almost make 100% return on my investment by having the right partner on this deal. Even if I give away 50% on this deal, I'm still hitting a 50% return, which is what I'm shooting to make on my cash for projects. So I can bring in the partner, have them operate it, not kink my team, and we're all still making money. And so how do we come up with this? And this is what's really important is I'm going to pull up a partnership calculator right now. Okay, can you guys still see my screen? Or did we lose it? Nope.
No.
Okay. So here's the partnership calculator that we have, you guys. So how do we figure out what we're going to ask for? We have a purchase price of $850,000 on this deal. We have a rehab amount of $150,000, and then we have a build cost at $350,000, which is going to be a total cost of rehab is going to be at $500,000 for the rehab and the build of the DADU. The after repaired value is going to be 1.15 because we comped the house, and then it's going to be $850 on the DADU. That's a total of $2 million on this deal. Now, this is going to calculate a little bit off because it's not going to factor in paying off the loan. And I'll show you kind of how we can kind of back that down. But on this deal, I got it for $850. It's a $500 to stabilize it. It's a after repair value of $2 million. I got a hold time of 12 months in there. And then we back out all the costs. So on this deal here, there is $347,000, or no, the net profit on this is $382, and I would have cash out of pocket at $347. Now, one thing, and we'll kind of break this out, is you guys on a DADU deal, once we sell that house, a lot of that loan gets paid off halfway through. So this number here is going to be a little bit low, and the cash out of pocket is going to be a little bit high. I'm going to have to create a DADU calculator now for the partnership. But how it works, you guys, is how do we set this up? And for me, if I'm going out and my team's ready to do this deal, and I'm going, okay, well, I got the deal. We have a lot of projects going on. Maybe I want to bring in the $350,000 for this deal, and I can look at doing it a couple different ways. I either can tap a lender and go, hey, are you interested in lending me $350,000 on this? And I'll pay you a fixed return of 10%, 12%, 16%. And we're going to play with that right now. Or I can bring in an equity partner to where I don't have to leverage up the whole amount. And I can reduce that because I have less debt on the deal, less expenses going on, and I can give away a portion of the equity. So how do we attract the money first? First thing is, if I'm looking at a deal where I got to have $350,000 on it, many, many times it's hard to get a second, you guys, for $350,000. Even me, who does a lot of seconds, I don't like to do that big of a second on that big of a project because it locks my money up for a 12-month period. It's 350 grand. It's a lot bigger. My average seconds are usually about 100 to 150 grand or less. And I'm a lot more exposed as a lender. So it's a harder thing to borrow at that point. And there's a lot more things going on with the deal. So the first thing I want to look at is, well, can I borrow and save the money? And that's where you guys, where I'm going to pull up. I'm going to have to tweak this partnership calc again, because if I'm looking at the deal holistically, we're going to grab. Let's see. Hold on, you guys, I gotta grab my project RE calculator. Well, we can do this right now. So if we want to look at the net profit on this, we're going to take the $350,000 and we're going to times this by 12%. And you guys all tweak this partnership calculator so we can you can factor in a second too in there or with the Dadu. But if we're going to do 12% interest at this, because I'm going to have that deal for 12 months, the net profit on this deal, and if I'm paying 12% interest, is going to be 386 minus the 41. Oops. We're going to 386 minus the 41,000 because it's going to cost me about $41,000 to borrow that on a second. So my net profit on this deal, if I can raise it on a second, my team's good at doing, is 340,000 if I can borrow that money at 12% as a second. That's a great deal. But again, you have to raise that 350,000, and sometimes that can be a struggle on a secondary loan. So when we have to raise bigger capital, a lot of times we go to equity because equity, when someone's got to write a check for 350, they want a little bit more juice in the deal. Like if I had to lend 350 on this, I'd probably want to get a higher rate. Like I might charge 16% on that rather than 12 because it's a little bit riskier. The other thing is you have to service that debt or pay that debt off no matter what. So there's more risk in the deal when you guys are always taking on leverage. So how do we look at it and go, okay, well, this is a great deal. It's 110% return over a year period. If I borrow it with a second and to fund this deal, I'm making 340,000. So how do we look at this in a way of going, okay, well, I still got to raise the money. Maybe I can't do it, but other people invest in partnerships. How do we offer this out? And so this is why we built the calculator the way it was. So over on the partnership calculator, this talks about what the terms are on the deal. We got a purchase price 850, 502 million. We're going to be able to get the loan set up, 15% down of the project, 2 points, 11%. Here's our annual insurance and taxes. It's probably going to be more like 6,000. And then our taxes at 9. And it breaks out the net profit of 381. So this then breaks it into 3 different types of scenarios that you raise capital that are very, very common. One is you bring in a cash investor. So what's the benefit of bringing in a straight cash investor? Well, A, if the market's slow, you have no leverage cost. The investor's going to write the check for the entire amount of the project, and they're going to take a portion of the profit, but you have no lending costs. On this deal here, our total lending costs on this is going to be $128,000 on this. So by bringing in a cash partner, I save $128,000 in lending costs. So it adds more profit in the deal. And there is partners I bring in that are very well funded. They'll just write a check and I'll give away more equity to them. Then there's a leverage partner. And this is where we have it set up to where you're going to bring in a partner that's going to be putting in the total cash needed to do this project at 381 or 348,000. And then we have another scenario, which is a pref plus equity. And I'll kind of break that down as we look at this. Cash investor, they write the check for the whole amount. They get a portion of the equity. They're going to make a return. We'll break that down. A leverage equity partner, you're going to borrow with hard money up to 80%, 85%. The equity partner is going to put up the full amount, and then we're going to do a split of the profit that way. A third way that we offer is a pref return in equity, because some investors, especially more seasoned investors that invest in syndication properties, they invest in different types of, especially if they invest in like hard money funds or syndications, they're used to getting an interest plus a little bit of upside. And that's what pref return is, where you're giving them a fixed interest expense and they get a portion of the equity on it, and you can do a blended average. And so depending on, as you're raising money, why do you raise money that way? Well, it's, the first thing I do when I'm talking to an investor that wants to invest with us is, what other projects have you invested in? Only syndications. Okay, that tells me they're used to getting a pref return in equity, and they're going to be happy with those numbers. If it's an operator, they might say, I get equity only. And so based on who I'm talking to, we offer deals to different investors because some people really like less profit, but a steady return and profit upside. Because as an investor who's the cash investor, getting a pref, it's a less riskier deal. It's not tied to 100% of the performance. You're going to get a pref return, a pref interest rate on the money you invested, plus a little bit of upside. So no matter what, if I'm getting 8% pref, I know I'm going to get 8% on my money. And then the portion of the profit I'm going to get as upside. A lot of investors like that because they want to make sure they get their minimum return. And so there's definitely a benefit to the pref equity. So as we work through it, we're going to look at this deal. And you can see how it's set up down below. There's a percentage you can allocate. 50% to the equity partner, 50% or percentage to an equity partner, a percentage to a contractor. Then on the equity in pref, there's a percentage you can allocate. And then there's a percentage you can allocate to the contractor. And then you can put in your pref return that you want to offer. Okay. Down here, you guys, when you're operating a deal and you're raising capital, many operators charge fees on the deals. So let's say in this scenario, I got it for $850,000 and I'm going, well, I secured a really good deal. That took me time. That has nothing to do with the actual project. That's me sourcing the deal. I could charge a 1%, 2%, 3% acquisition fee on the deal because that's me making income elsewhere. Some operators, I don't, but some operators will charge to secure the financing. Hey, I had to go out and find us the loan for this project. As an operator, I'm doing the project, the renovation. The investor's putting in the capital, but that doesn't mean that because I'm doing the renovation, I need to not get paid on the financing. So some people will add in a financing fee, project management fee, and a disposition fee. You can change your fees around because they're very, very normal and standard. So we're going to play around with this now, and I'm going to go over a couple scenarios of how I kind of offer things out. Okay. So the good thing about this, even if you're a wholesaler in our call and you're going, man, I got a contractor, I'm partnering up with him. He's really good at what he does. He can take on this deal, but he wants a percentage of the equity. Okay, well, we can do that with this. And then the other issue is maybe I don't have the 350,000. So I'm a wholesaler. I don't have the cash. I got the contractor, but he wants to be tied in the deal. So how do I break this deal up? So we're able to play with all these splits. So let's say in a scenario, you are the person that found the deal, the developer, and you have a contractor that you can bring in, and they will run the project. They're going to do the whole construction for the 500,000. They're going to make money on that. And then they're tied into the performance, and I'm going to give them 25% to make sure it goes smooth for my investor partner that I'm bringing in. I then give away 25% to my equity partner, the one bringing in all the cash on the deal. And for me, for just setting up the deal, I'm now receiving 50% of the return. And this allows you guys to break this out and look at how is the numbers impacted this way. So let's say I offered that on this deal right here. The investor on this, if they're all cash, there's no lending, they're going to have to come up with $1.36 million for this project. So it's a bigger investor. The investor, if they're making, this then breaks out going, okay, well, if we do this deal and I make 50% putting it together, I'm going to make $255,000 on the deal. That's great for me. The equity partner who wrote the check for 1.36 million is making 127,000, which is going to be a return of 9.32%. That's not so good, you guys, if they're writing that much out and they're getting all equity. For me, I wouldn't do that deal. I'd rather lend it out at 12%. The contractor is then you're paying 25% because they have the know-how, the operator you brought in. They're getting paid 125 grand. They're going to like that because they got paid their $500,000 construction budget and $125,000 kicker. But if I'm looking at this deal, I'm going, well, if I'm just putting it together, maybe 255 is too much. Because for me to go get a cash investor to write the check for 1.4 million for a 9.32% return that has variance with the performance of the market, it's gonna be hard to raise that money. And so I adjust this percentage based on who can I attract in the door. If I have a hard money lender that usually lends me money at 10%, and I call them and say, hey, I got an opportunity for you. You know, instead of borrowing at 10%, would you like to have some upside to where you can make a 15% return on your investment? So you're going to make 50% more on projections if you want to do equity instead of loaning. That's a good proposition to offer a passive investor. If I'm lending money out at 10% and now I have an opportunity to make 15% with someone I've already been lending money to, I'm going to look at that deal. And so I picked the 40% is what I'm offering them in the deal because it's already exceeding their expectations of 10%. If I give them straight 50% of the deal, they went from being a lender at 10% to where they might make 18 to 19% on the deal. And it could make it to where they don't want to lend me money anymore down the road. Plus, they're completely happy with 10%. If I'm giving them 15%, they're going to be extremely happy. They're making 50% more. And so when you guys present this to passive investors, don't just say 50-50 on the deal. Go, hey, you're usually trying to make 10. I have an opportunity to where you can make 15%. If you buy into this deal rather than lend it to me and you wait for the profit at the end, the investor could make 50% more by giving them 40% of the deal. I'm not offering them 50% because I'm giving them a 15% return. I'm letting the return structure the partnership rather than just offering out them 50%. Now, if I don't have a contractor in this deal and I'm the one operating, even better. Because now I'm keeping 60% of the deal by sourcing the deal and I am doing the operations and I have an upside of $306,000. Now, if you remember back, if I borrowed the money at 12%, I can give away 40% of the deal and still make $306,000 and have lots of way less risk. I don't have to sign for debt. I don't have to keep up with the slow market. The interest carry is not going to eat up the deal. And I'm making nearly the same amount with less risk in it by giving away 40% of my deal. And by giving away 40% of my deal, I'm getting it from an investor that's used to making 10%. And now I can offer them 14.91% on projections. And so my overall cost, I lose 30 grand on the deal, but my risk goes way down and I'm giving my investor 5% more than they're used to making. And I'm not giving away half. Now, if I have an investor that's like, hey, I only like to do 50-50 deals because that's the way some people are. And that's okay. I will only do if I get 50-50. Well, right now they're making an 18% return. And that's fine. We can give away 15% of the deal. But if I'm bringing them the deal, it doesn't mean that I'm going to operate it. That means I'm bringing them the deal. I could maybe charge an acquisition fee on this. And you guys, and sometimes offering 50% just attracts more money because people just like to hear that magic number. And so this investor, if I gave him 40%, they were going to make a 15% return, which is good. If I give them 50%, they're making 18%. So then what you guys can do, depending on how you raise capital, I could charge on my deals, I could charge a 2% acquisition fee. So how I typically do it, guys, and you hear me tell people, don't give away 50% of their deal. I give away 50%, but we still make money throughout that pays for the businesses. You know, I typically will charge 5% for my project management fee, a 2% acquisition, and then we're usually making a 3% disposition fee. And so my overall profit by giving away 50% is I'm making 234 plus the 102. I'm making $336,000. This is wrong, guys. Hold on one sec. No, 486. Yep, here we go. So I'm making $336,000 on this deal by giving away 50% because I'm making $102,000 in feeing the deal for my work being done.
Are those fees applied on the purchase price, on the, like, what percentage of what, I guess?
Yeah, so it's acquisition fee is 2% of the purchase price here.
And then what about the others? Is dispo the ARV, percentage of the ARV? for the
Yep,
sale
correct.
price?
And
Okay.
it's built into the sheet. So when I present this to my investor, I'm going, hey, this is a 50-50 deal. All fees are included in this pro forma. And so it breaks it out for him too. So like we don't hide the fees. It's, project management. If I'm charging 5%, that's cheaper than most will charge. A lot of people charge 10%.
I was gonna
Or an
ask, the
acquisition.
next question is, what are the industry standards for acquisition, financing, PM, dispo, like the fees for each of these?
So typically, like on a syndication deal, which that's what most people are familiar with, it's a 1% acquisition fee, but it's on a bigger purchase. It's a 10% project management fee. And then on the disposition, it's going to be 2% on the dispo when they sell it. And then they charge a
Okay.
half point for the financing to a point.
Thank you.
And it kind of all varies, you guys. And most of the times on a syndication, they're giving away 70% to the investor, 30% stays with the operator. But with a fix and flip or development, it's a lot more work up front. And that's why typically you'll get 50% or more. But what I really want everyone to kind of like open their eyes is, hey, it's okay if you're talking to investors, like, hey, I'll do a deal with you, but I want half. Okay, well, let's build the pro forma to where you're still making money all the way through, and you might not be giving away half. So on this deal, if I'm giving away half and I don't charge fees, I'm making $255 on that deal, which is great. But if I put in the normal fees on this, or what we charge, I'm making $316 on the deal. And the investor's making 17%. And so depending on who I'm talking to, if someone's like, hey, I will fund you, but I want half the deal every time. When I send it to that client, I'm going to build in my fees in there because this is a cost of doing business. It has nothing to do with the investment. It's the cost that I have to incur to run that engine correctly, or to find the deal, or to set the deal up. The operational part is me stabilizing the house to make the profit. And so what I want everyone to kind of do is audit who you're talking to, what kind of partnerships you kind of, as you raise money, like, are they lending out at 10%? Well, maybe it's good to bring it to the investor and go, well, how would you like to make 40% in the equity? And you can make up to 15 to 16%. And you're going to have less risk in the deal and less overhead and less run on it. And you're going to make nearly the same. Or if you have investors that are what we want to do, guys, is kind of database who our investors are. I really have two different types of investors. I have cash investors that invest with me that we do give away 50% to, but we do fee the deal in the pro forma. It's all in there because that covers our costs. With my more passive investors that invest in my syndications, I don't need to offer them that much because they want that pref return, that guaranteed return plus equity. And we'll play with that. So in this scenario though, if a cash investor is going to make 17%, they're making 234. As an operator, I'm making 316, and I'm still giving away 50% of the deal. So it's a great return. Now, if the investor doesn't have the 1.4 million to do this deal, which most people don't, you guys, we're going to bring in a hard money lender, which is going to finance that deal at 85% typically of the total project. The investor is going to bring in the 15% plus all the carry costs, the total cash out of pocket on this deal at 348. So how do I know what to offer that person? Same scenario, same process. If I'm talking to an investor, this investor on this deal is going to make a 54% return on their investment if I just give them 50-50 on that deal. That's if I have an investor like me who's trying to make 35% on their money, I'm giving away too much on an equity partner. And so as you're talking to investors that want to invest with you, I always like to go, hey, what kind of return are you trying to make on your money? Because most time people don't even know. They're like, I just want half because they think they should. Well, what if half is only a 10% return? Like, what is the return that you're trying to make? So with me when I'm the investor putting money in a deal as equity, I want to make at least a 35% on my money because that's what I'm targeting over here anyways with my team. And so if you came and pitched me on the deal and I'm trying to make 35% and I know that, I might say, hey, look, I got a great deal for you. I got this property. Here's the underwriting that we sent over. You're going to need $350,000 for this. And if we hit our projections at the end of the deal, you're going to put up 348,000. You're going to be making 133,000, which is going to be a 38.3% return. Are you interested? I'm not talking about equity to them. I'm talking about if you invest the 248, we're projecting you can make 133, which is a 38% return. Equity doesn't matter if I'm an investor putting money in. It goes, how much money am I putting in? How much am I getting out? And so when you're talking to people about borrowing money, raising money, find out what are they trying to make on their money? Is it 10%? Is it 20%? Is it 30%? Is it 50%? Because if you can hit their expectations, you're giving them exactly what you want or they want, and you're not giving away all your deal. If you give away, on this property, if I keep 65% and my investor's trying to make 30% of their money and I can give it to them at 38%, I'm already exceeding their expectations. And instead of giving away 50% of the deal, I'm only giving away 35%. Because if I'm keeping 65, I'm making 248 on it. If I just standard give it at a 50%, I'm making 190. That's a difference of $40,000 to me on one project. And not only that, I'm well exceeding the investor's expectation. And so as you're raising money, again, ask what are people trying to make on their money? If you put 100 grand in, what do you want to make? I want to make 20 grand. So you want to make a 20% return. And so when I deliver this to people, I'm delivering it with that mindset. Now, when you're doing volume, I like to standardize it more. And how do I play with that is on a 35% return, or if I'm making 65 and I'm giving away 35, the investor's making 133, I'm making 248. So if I give 50%, I can play around with this and build a model that works. Sorry. I don't charge a financing fee. Project management's 5%. Disposition. So, sorry, that's 1%. Clicking too many buttons, guys. So if I play around with this model, I can go, well, you know what, maybe it's getting too complicated with investors and they really just want 50-50 on the deal. It makes it way easier for me to raise money. Then I'm going to play around with this structure. And on this, if I give away 50% of my deal, but I charge a 2% acquisition fee, a 5% project management fee, and a 1% disposition fee, I'm giving away 50%. The investor's getting their 50%. They're getting a 30% return, which is great. And at the end of the day, I'm still making more money by giving away 50%, but then charging reasonable fees throughout on the sale. Even if I charge 1% on the acquisition. Hey, every time we do a deal, I charge a 1% fee on the purchase price. When I have to run the project, I charge you a 5% project management fee, which is half of what a normal cost is. And then when we dispo it, because I'm getting it ready for sale, I get a 1% disposition fee. I'm giving the investor what they want to hear, which is 50% of the deal, and I'm still making the exact same amount. And these are not unreasonable requests because you guys are charging for what you're doing on the project, not by bringing in the deal. And so you guys, if you're giving away 50% of your deal right now, that's okay, but play around with these numbers. Where does it make sense for you to go? This is what works for us. 1%, 5% project management, 1% dispo. That's the equivalent to me making 65% of this deal, not 50. And it allows me also to have the operational capital to hire up. And, this isn't just all profit. It allows me to staff, make sure the investment's secure, and really scale my business because I have the right income coming in. I have fee income of $53,000 on this one deal. I can hire, that's half a project manager for me to have on staff. And so it allows me to really make sure that the business is secure and I can run fluidly because there's a cost to that when you scale, and still protect the investment to where the investor can make 35%. And so play around with those numbers. It's simple to offer 50-50, guys, but make sure that you're covering your side. So even though I'm giving away 50-50, I'm really making 65 because it covers my costs. And when I put it in the pro forma, I can go, well, 34% is a great return anyway, so the deal makes sense. I can get someone to invest in this if they're going to make a 34% return on their investment. Typically, most of my passive investors that are getting equity are making about 20% on their money in a 6-month period. And so that means that the deal checks out all the way around. Now, going into equity and pref. This is where you guys, if you have a good deal, like this is a great deal here, mathematically. And I have an investor that they're a little bit more passive. These are typically your investors a little bit older in life, right? They want to make their steady return. They invest in hard money funds, for example. Many people invest in a hard money fund, make an average of 8.5 to 10% on their money. It's steady. The reason they like it is it's consistent. It's always working. And they like that steady paycheck because they can rely on that to pay their bills. The benefit to bringing in equity and pref is I can offer out a steady return to somebody. And let's say it's a hard money investor that invests in funds and they make 10% on their money. Well, investor, would you like to come in as an equity partner? And you're going to make an 8% pref. So you're going to make less than you would as a hard money investor. But you get upside in the deal. And you're going to get a 15% upside in the profit. So you're going to make 8% on your money of the $350,000. And you guys, 8% is a good return for a lot of people, especially if you're talking to like tech investors or, people that make pretty steady returns in the stock market. This is great model for them because they're going to make their 8%. They're already going to know they're going to make their 8%. And then I can offer them a 15% equity on the property, and their total annualized return is going to be 30%. And so it allows you to play with it. Many times what I have found, pref investors like a little bit higher pref. You guys, the higher the pref, the lower the equity that you give them. So if I'm going to offer an investor 10% instead, I might only give them 10% of the equity because they're making a very good pref return, 10%, plus they have a 10% equity part or upside, which is 103,000. If I want less debt on the deal, maybe I only offer them a 5% return, but then I give them a 20% in the performance of the deal. And they're making 32% on their money. And so you can play with this and go, well, what's going to attract the most money? Usually, you guys, the higher the pref, lower the equity is going to get you the funding easier. So typically, like on our development sites, because they're longer projects, we offer a 10% pref and they get a 15% equity. And it's typically a larger amount too. And so, you guys can play with this and go, what does this work? What is it? How does this work? And if you're somebody that knows, Raleigh, I'm going to pick on you, Raleigh, or anybody in the tech space, and you guys, you're people that that have invested in the stock market. The stock market's gotten pretty flat, and they're looking for other ways, but they like that consistency, right? It gives them that security. This is where you can still offer them a pref return, let's say 8% and 10. And if you look at the overall profit on this deal, I'm making $15,000 more roughly on this. Or $12,000, $13,000 more. So I'm giving them their pref at 8%. I give it away 10% on the deal. And I'm making more money. So in this scenario, you guys should always be making more profit as equity and pref partner than you would a straight equity. Because if someone's investing just in the equity, they have more upside because there's more risk in the deal. Now, once you guys come up with this scenario, so if I'm going to raise the capital for this, it breaks it off into a summary for you. Hey, investor, I know you have a lot of cash right now. You're sitting heavy. Like I have one long-term partner of ours. He has a nonprofit. It has anywhere between $1 million and $2 million in at any time. He's got to get it working. And so he likes paying all cash for deals. I might call him up on a deal and say, hey, look, we have a deal for 100. Your total cash needed for this project is 1.37. You have a 50% equity profit split. You're going to make 238. Your ROI on this is going to be 17%, and your analyzed return is at 17%. Now, if his minimum is 12%, he's going to like this deal. Equity and pref. Hey, investor, you need to come up with $160,000 for this deal. You're going to make an 8% return on your investment, guaranteed. So you're going to make $27,000 on that. And then with your total profit, with with the upside in your deal of 10%, you're going to make $188,000, which is going to be a 53.9% return. Leverage partner. Ooh, I'm giving away too much on that. This isn't calculating right. Hold on. It's just not pulling from the right cell. There we go. Leverage equity partner. Hey, investor, you got to come up with $348,000 for this deal. At 50% profit on this, you're going to make $174,000. Your total return on this, so in 12 months, is 49%. And so it summarizes everything out. So I kind of just went over a lot right now. The biggest thing that I kind of want to take away from this is how do we operate? How do we ask for money? And as we're raising capital right now, especially the new operators in here, the operators that are trying to grow and scale, what do you offer? And you need to take a recent deal you have or a deal you've just done and play with these numbers on there. Who do I need to do to put in this piece? What does the return looks like? You guys focus on the return to the investor, not as much the equity. Because for me, I don't care if I have 90% of the deal. What's my overall return? if I have 20% of the deal, but I'm making way more than my expectations are, I'm going to do that deal. And so the more you train your investors as you meet with people and raising capital, have the conversation of, hey, what are you trying to make on your money? Are you trying to make 20%, 15%, 10%? What are you trying to make? And then play with your calculator from there and position it that way. Again, if they want, oh, I only do it if I get half the deal. That's okay. Fee the deal. Is the return still going to work with you feeing the deal in there? Because then you're taken care of. Are you getting, enough of that equity, and play with those numbers in there? So I'm going to open it up right now because I did just waterfall a bunch of stuff. Wish everybody was on this call tonight. And I'm going to open up with Nicole.
I have a scenario I'd love to see you just quickly play out. Overall, I get it. So there is someone I know who has been raising for deals, and she raises all of the cash needed outside of the hard money loan. So not like that you still need your HML, and then she'll raise the rest of the cash you need. So kind of like your equity partner situation.
Yep.
And what she's typically asking for is somewhere between about 10 to 12% for her private money lenders, because she's actually not the one bringing the cash. She's bringing PML. She's the one coordinating it. She's honestly just like the person who's got PMLs in her pocket and is still paying them a fixed interest. And then she wants 50% of the deal is what she's been asking for bringing the cash. And so I'm so curious how you would try to play that out in a way that actually favors us in this scenario.
Okay, so you could use the equity and pref thing right here,
Right.
right? So your pref return you would put at 12% right here.
Right.
Then you're going to go, she wants 50%
Yeah.
of this deal, right? So over here, you can see on this deal, you would make 381 without bringing her in, right?
Right.
On the flip calc. If you do the deal with her, you're going to be making, I'm going to not put any fees in right now. You're going to be making 169 on that deal.
Right.
Okay, so that's a huge drop.
Right.
And honestly, what she's asking for is unreasonable.
Right. I agree. So I'm like, how do you restructure that in a way that is reasonable?
Well, and let me, I guess, take one step back. It's not unreasonable. It's just aggressive, because at the end of the day, if they come through with the money and you really need it, it's better than not doing it, right?
Right. Right.
And so if I'm looking at that scenario and that's just the way she plays, then I'm going to go, okay, well, when I present her with the deal, okay, 381, she's raising it at 12%, which is already high.
Right.
I would say a lot of secondary lenders are going to charge 15% on their deals, depending on the experience of the operator, right? Like I lend on seconds for experienced operators that I know fairly well. I do it at 12% and 2 points. If I don't know them that well, I charge 15 to 16 to 18% and 2 points, because it's more risk.
I will say this is no points at least.
Yeah, no points. And
Yeah.
a lot of lenders don't, but that's just what I've set as my buy box expectation or hard money lending expectation. It's just, if I don't know them, there's more risk. Don't know the market as well, I charge more because there's more risk on it. So in this scenario, though, if I don't want to give her away, because she's making 169,000 plus she's paying out a 12% pref, which is eating off the deal 41,000 right there.
Right. Right.
How do I get it close? Well, what I would do is I would set this deal up with acquisition fees. And so, let's do, you're going to do no financing because she's kind of already charging that. Your project management, you could put at 10% because that's reasonable. And then let's say you do disposition. So if you did a 2% acquisition fee, no financing fee because she's lining that up, the project management, you're charging 10% of the construction, which is, again, reasonable. And a 2% disposition fee, now you're making 243 on the deal instead of 169. You're still giving away 50%. Her investors are still making 41,000. And then she is making an extra 30. She's making 30 grand on. Is that right? This can't be right.
I
There's
mean, it's gotta
270.
be, because it was, what was the total return? 381. Oh, no, it's not right.
No, this is not right. This is let me see. Hold on one sec. Why is it doing that? Oh, because I broke the cell. That's why. Okay, that's what I did here. Okay, there we go. So she's making 136 and you're making 243. So instead of paying, like if you went and raised that capital at 12%, you'd be making 339, right? So by feeing the deal with 2%, 10% project management fee, 2%, 2% dispo, and it's all in here for her to look at, right? It's all on the pro forma. Her investors are making her 12% return, and you're basically by using her money, you're giving away, instead of raising it, you're giving away $100,000 on that deal.
136.
Yeah, you're really giving away 33% of the deal rather than 50. Now, if you wanted to make a little bit
How are you
more,
getting that 33? I'm just trying to figure this out. So if I hadn't involved her, I guess I would have made 381 and instead of making 243.
oh yeah, but I was factoring if you raised money here for that. Like you still were putting no money in the deal.
Right. Oh, okay. So if I was rented and raised it myself. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you raised it yourself at 12%, you'd be making 340.
Okay. Makes
And
sense.
if you raised it with her, you're making 243.
Right. Or if I just found my own money somehow, then I'd make 381.
Yep, correct. Yep, you
Okay.
make 381. So you're giving away, a fairly big chunk of the deal, but you're making 250 grand on the return on as the operator.
Makes sense. Thank you.
And then you're probably going to give away a little bit more for her because she probably has more funding sources, so she can take down bigger and bigger deals and not run out of cash. Like you hit someone like me up. Yeah, at some point I run out of cash. Like I try to have like $1 million to $1.3 million working in private money equity deals. Sometimes up to $1.5 million, but that I cap out at that because I keep my money working in other spots too.
Well, maybe I'll just ask you next time. I don't need to ask her.
It's yeah, I'm trying to figure out that's what I'm waiting for an answer on lending in California if I have to pay the state income tax on that. Because someone told me I know I have to if I have equity, but if it's straight interest, I'm going to verify that because that affects my return on the money too. So
right. Obviously,
yeah.
The tax
Yeah,
rate,
so California might have to charge a little bit more, or it's in. So that's what I'm playing with on those.
Right.
But go through those motions, right? And go, okay, well, maybe that's too much for her anyways, right? She's totally happy with less. Maybe you charge 3% and 3, right? Because then it's just a standard 3. It's like a real estate commission. It's normal. And then you're making 267 and she's making 132. And now your delta is a lot less than borrowing, right? You're talking about a difference of 60, 70,000 on this deal, but it's for a funding source that may not run out of money.
Right. Okay.
Which keeps less of a hassle, not juggling a million people.
Yep. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. So does everyone see how I just, like, if I went to bring this to the lady, I'd probably charge those fees and go, okay, here's the deal. You're giving out a 12%. She's making 132 grand. She should be pretty happy with that. That's a 37% return that she's making on raising the capital at 12%. That's a great deal for her. And then Nicole is making the 132,000 profit plus $135,000 in fees that people are normal to seeing. Wendy, this is a great topic for you right now.
Right? It's perfect. So, I am trying to understand. I think it's still a little fuzzy for me, so I'm hoping I could get the recording and just kind of rewatch because it's. Whew. So from my standpoint, like, how do I know what's the best kind of which route to go? Like, equity, like a leverage partner versus like a preferred equity? Like I'm not clear what the difference between the two
Okay, so
would
for you
be.
as the investor,
Yeah,
it's
like
going to
I'm a
become
lazy investor, let's put it that way.
a passive investor.
Yes.
I actually call us the smartest investor, the ones that works the least. Um, so it comes down to risk, right? And your appetite for risk. And so like what I like to do, like out of all the loans I have out right now, I think I have about 1.2 million out in loans, right? And so as a passive investor, and I'm going to talk about this, you guys, I'm going to build this pie chart. And you guys are going to see exactly where I have all my cash at, because as an investor, I have a certain amount of cash, and you guys, this is for the operators too, right? As you're talking to investors, like understanding this really helps. And let's say for simple reasons, I have $1 million. Now, if I'm in a high growth and Wendy, you're like, hey, I'm going to quit my job. I need to grow this as fast as possible. The one you're going to get the highest return on is going to be the straight equity.
Okay.
And you should be making more like on a typical deal, you should be making 20 to 25, 30% with projections where you're taking. But that's going to come with more risk because that's only on the performance of the deal. If the deal goes wrong, you're going to either lose money or break even or make a little bit. Right. And so there's risk to that. And so you have to really believe in the deal, believe in the operator, vet them correctly. But if I'm in high growth, I'm going to put the whole million in the equity. Now, if I'm going, well, I like how things are, and I want to, you know, to actually take a step back, Wendy, and go, okay, with $1 million, what's my goal? What would I be ecstatic about making? If I can make 25% on my money that year, I'm going to be thrilled. That's 250 grand on $1 million.
Mhm.
Well, how do I get there? And it and you can break that into kind of buckets and go, okay, well, I still want consistency because I'll be thrilled if I hit 25%, but I'd also be really happy if I hit 15%. And you can do a blend. And so for me, like on my $1 million I have working, I have probably 50% of that working on this straight hard money seconds where I'm making 12% interest in 2 points because I'm making around 14% on my money. The other 50% I put in equity deals because I'm trying to make 20 to 25%, if not more, on my money with that. And the blended average is going to get me higher than what my goal is because I'm trying to hit that 25%. Now, if I'm like, man, 25% would be great, but I really just want 15, I might take 75% of it, put it on straight interest because it's guaranteed income, and then go 25% is like me putting it on, that's my juice. Like if I hit this deals right, I'm gonna get above that 25%. And so like depending on your risk, like the question to ask yourself is, do you want more steady income or do you want more growth income? And if you want steady income, I would focus more on debt because it's guaranteed and it's more about vetting the operator, vetting the deal. And it's no matter what, even like, let's say you lent me money on a deal and the deal went bad. Well, I signed a personal guarantee to you, a hard money note. I'm going to pay you that money no matter what.
Mhm.
If I'm an equity partner and the deal goes bad, then the deal just goes bad and it's my loss. And so there's kind of that blended average. And the real question is, well, how much are you trying to grow this money and fast? And what's your appetite for risk? If you want more risk, do more equity. If you want more steady, I go with more hard money. And then you can also play around with the pref as, okay, well, I want steady, but I want a little bit of upside. And if I can lend it at 12, well, what if I get a pref return at 9, which is less than I want it for, but I can get this much equity on the deals as I'm looking at them. Because
So is pref the same as hard money lending as HML, that, or am I just confusing the two things? They're separate.
No, it is. It's basically like putting a second on this deal here. So like for this property, if you let's say you can lend out at 12, right? On this deal. And you would make 41,000 over here. See that?
Oh, sorry. Let me go to that screen. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So if so if I'm looking at this as a passive investor,
Mm-hmm.
or even as your operators, guys, this is what your investors are looking at. Is okay, well, if I lend it to this operator and I charge 12%, I'm gonna make 41,000 over here. Because that was the down payment times 12% interest. Now, if I'm going, okay, well, I like this, but I want a little bit more upside in the deals, but no matter what, I don't want to make zero on my money. I could offer an 8% pref because it's less to the operator because they're not paying 12 anymore. They're saving 4 points on their money. And your pref return is going to go to 27,000 from 41. So now your guaranteed money went to 27,000. But if you have 10% in equity on that, you're now making the equity partner is making 27 plus 27. So their combined total, you would be making 52,000 instead of 41. Because you're making the pref here plus the 27.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm looking at that, I'm going, okay, well, I'm making a little bit more, but maybe that's not worth it to me because I'm going, hey, if I make 12%, I'm pretty happy at 41,000. If I do 8% and a 10% kicker on the profit, I have an upside of 52,000. So it's, it's 10 grand more. It's a little more, but if the deal doesn't go right, I'm still only making 8 and I'm only making 27. And so if I'm looking at that deal, I'm going to go, well, either I'll lend it to you at 12 or I'll do 8% pref and I want 20% of the equity. And now you got a real return going on because you have 55,000 in profit plus the 27 and you're going, okay, now I'm tied to the performance. So you can still get that steady. The benefit for you or for even people raising money is the investor putting the money in is making 8% on their money no matter what, which is better than what they're getting at the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get the up kicker on it for the profit. And so, at the end of the day, it's less risky than the equity partner where you're tied to 100% of the deal because you're still going to make your 8% on this.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
And so that would be what I'd always do is someone ever offers you a pref and equity, look at, well, how much would it be if I just charged as a secondary rate at 12% or 14%? And is the delta big enough? And the delta's not big enough. I'm going to go with the guaranteed rate.
Makes sense.
And so, or if someone's offering me a pref at 8 and 20%, I'm going to go, okay, well, is that worth, what is this? Yeah, I think I broke some calculators as I was messing around with this. I definitely did. Because this is not right either now. This is
So
this times this. Oop, hold on.
Oh.
This is 306 times by. So, like if someone's offering me an 8% return and 20%, I'm going, the deal's a little risky. I don't know. I don't know the deal that well. I don't know the operator that well. And my upside on this is 55 plus 27. I got 70,000. I might say, I don't know you that well. I don't know this market that well. I like it, but forget the prep. I want 40% of your deal instead because I'm making 30 grand more and it's worth the risk at that point. Or maybe I don't know the operator or the market that well, but the deal looks really good. And so because there's more risk on the deal, I might say, you know what, it's not quite worth enough for me to do the pref on what they're offering. And so anytime people are kicking it to you, put in their information in this and then go, you can counter them at a different and go, you know what, I'll do this deal, but I need it set up this way. And depending on your $1 million and going, well, I have 500 grand already out in hard money, so I don't need any more of that. I want to get, you know, maybe 25% of that, you know, another 250 grand, you want an 8% return plus some upside. And then another 25% of it, you're throwing it in the deal all the way to try to get the high return. And so you can kind of play with that. You can take a deal and play with it with the calculator and go, okay, well, if I did it this way, and this way, here's what my returns are. And then take your funds and go, how do I grow this the fastest? Well, I can do 50% this way, 20% this way, 30% this way.
Okay.
And then you kind of know what the returns and expectations are. And then what I highly advise for everybody on this call, especially if you're investing in other people, is spread it out a little bit. Like, I mean, most of my capital is in a hard money fund because it pays me 10.5% every month. I don't have to work it. It's just to me. I would say out of my savings that I've allocated for passive, it has 60% of my funding. 40% goes into deals like this where I'm doing some equity and pref, and then some just straight hard money because the hard money is paying me more than the fund.
Got it. Oh, and then one more question. I know that hard money, you get your name on the deed and but then like with equity partner or equity prefer partner, do you also get your name on the deed? Like are you first or are you second?
You're second because typically you're
Okay.
going you're the cash contributed behind the hard money. And then how we do the deals is we do it with a joint venture agreement. So you're tied into the deal and it's recorded against escrow to where it shows your cash contribution is on the joint venture. If it's just straight equity, the equity spelled out. If it's a pref, it runs the pref return and then the equity split after that. And so it's a recorded document that clouds titles that has to be paid off. But the hard money first is in first position.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because you previously, like in your classes, you're like, it's better to be minimum second, right? Like not third, ideally.
Yeah, thirds are no good.
Super risky. Okay, yeah. Okay.
And granted,
Well,
I
but then,
have
like,
done.
thirds are notes though, right? Like if I were to buy a note, I would be in third. I haven't seen notes that are second.
No. Well, no, like for example, the note I sent you to buy.
Yeah.
That's
Would
a second position note.
Oh, is it? Oh, I thought it was a third. Okay, I don't know why I thought it was a third.
No, there was some confusion on that one because I think it kind of looked like that for a second, but the property that was a Dadu playoff to where the property had been sold and then the note had been reconveyed and recorded. So it was a second position note.
Oh, okay. Okay. I guess I just wrote off notes and like I just wrote notes into like a third position always. So it's not the case. It's kind of like
No, because when you're buying
Got
the note, you're buying a percentage of that note. And so it's whatever the deed position is. If the note is at first, you're still in first. And then let's say you buy half the note. If the loan, let's say they sold it and the loan lost 50 grand, you would lose 50% of that note balance, not the whole thing.
Gotcha.
Now,
Okay.
yeah, and don't buy thirds.
Yeah, no, okay, gotcha.
Yes,
I remember that part.
yeah, I will do a third every once in a while for somebody, but usually it's like a debt structure thing. They're like, hey, I need 20 grand to finish this up and then I'm going to refi it, and they don't want it to be cash out. And so I'll do it as it's usually like a 10 to 20 grand loan, but I'll charge them like 20% for it. It's, and it's just, they already have a plan and there's a reason if they have the money, but there's a reason they don't want to put it in the deal for structure.
Okay, that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Yep. You guys, I know we're
James,
going a little granular on this tonight, but this is a very, very important concept for growth. Like raising capital and asking in the right way is going to do, the more you understand the money, you guys, the easier it is that comes in. So again, when I'm talking to an investor, I never ask like, hey, what are you trying to do? I'm like, hey, what are you trying to make on your money? And then based on what they tell me, I go, okay, well, I think you should put it here with us because it's going to give you that guaranteed rate. Or, if you do this, you can make that return. Or if you want to make 30%, then why don't you partner with me on a deal? And this is what this would look like. And so that's why it's really important. And there will be a consistency. And then eventually, as you do this a few times, you're just going to standardize it and go, this is the way I do it. And if you do it that way consistently, you can kind of perform that out and grow. So, Serena.
Hi, James.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing good.
Good. Couple questions on the timing for this deal. Where are you at in the purchase process? Like, are you waiting to offer until you confirm you have an operator for it, or have you already closed on it?
This one is secured. I have waived feasibility. Now, this one, if I need an operator myself,
Gotcha.
I will.
Oh, okay.
And then the reason I've secured it and I could waive feasibility is because I have numerous operators that would do this deal with me.
Okay. Yeah.
And
I figured.
so, so when I'm out looking for deals, I'm going, oh, well, I'm going to go try to find the deal that makes sense for the people I like working with.
Okay.
And so, you guys, and typically too, like this operator, the way I positioned it to, Raleigh on the call is I offered 50%. I don't typically do that. I give them 30%. If it's just a straight over tackle flip.
Okay.
Every operator I do this with, if I'm finding the deal, I'm bringing them in the deal. I know it's a good deal. I'm going to cut them in 30%. They're going to make their standard. This is a development and flip. And so I think it's more work on the operator. So I'm offering more.
Mm-hmm.
And it also, I think that the operators that I'm bringing it to will be less than what it will actually cost on the build. And
Okay.
so, that way they're receiving part of that upside in there too.
Okay. And then when we're sending these out to investors, it seems like because there's going to be some kind of negotiation on the returns, right? This is kind of more for not for a deal that's moving fast.
No. So what I want you to practice is like, so as you talk to investors, have you been talking to some investors about working with you on some projects?
No, not yet, but it just seems like when you're sending out, hey, such and such property, and then if you kind of go back and forth a little bit on what returns they want, or is your offer already like submitted on the property before you even go out or send it out to investors?
Well, if it's a good deal, we submit the offer, but we'll get a feasibility in there or an inspection
Okay,
period.
so this is all during due diligence.
All during due diligence.
Okay. Okay.
Now
Gotcha.
this house, I did not do it because that was the way we got a good deal, was by coming in kind of aggressive on
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
And so no matter what, the deal made sense.
Okay.
And like it would even make sense as a flip if I decided to scrap the Dadu plan. I know
Mhm.
my team could flip that house fairly quickly and
Yeah.
probably do it for less than the 150,000 in our budget. And then the house would be worth about 1.3 with the big lot. And it wouldn't be a
Okay.
home run deal at that point. It would be an average
Right.
deal, but it was worth me putting up the non-refundable because I had multiple exit strategies I could do with it.
Options. Yeah. Okay.
And so those are my favorite kind of deals. Like worst case scenario, if I got to do it the most basic way, but it works for us, we still are okay.
Gotcha. And then my final question would be, what's on Raleigh's resume that you like so much, or any of your operators, I guess, that you are looking for these types of deals?
Part of it is he's been in the academy for over a year now. And so I've watched him kind of grow and make changes and move things around. And anytime you can watch someone do that and watch how they work, and do deals and problem solve,
Mhm.
it's just that's where I feel very comfortable with somebody, because it's not even if Raleigh did a bad deal, but he's doing all the right things as an operator. I'm, like he's made his pivots, he's building out, he's scaling correctly.
Mhm.
I get to
Learning
watch him
from
work on these
mistakes.
projects. And so it makes me feel very comfortable. Now, if I don't know the operators well, I might offer him a lot less too.
Mhm.
There is some other Dadu builders that I've talked to, and I'm like, hey, look, if you can get this done in these time frames, I'll give you your 350 to build, and I'll give you a 15% equity if you hit this time frame and this pricing, and we get this price out of it. And so I'm always constantly, the biggest thing is, as you meet people, like find out how can you partner with them in one way, shape, or form. If it's they have money they had to work, well, what kind of return are they looking for? If they want
Mhm.
12% and I have a deal where I can give them 20%, they're going to be pretty excited. Or if I'm meeting a Dadu builder that's pretty busy right now, and the question that I have to him is, well, what if you could make more and you get some of the profit on the deal? Would you prioritize these? And they say yes. And I get to cherry pick out the right Dadu builders too.
Mhm.
And so it allows me to be efficient. And so, that's always when you meet someone, like, how can you partner with them? Because like right now, what is your need for partners?
I'm not anywhere near that yet, I don't think. I'm still trying to wrap up this Cleveland burr, and then as soon as I get home, I'm looking to move more into the operator space. But
Okay, so you're gonna want money priority for doing your projects.
mhm, yes,
Okay. But that's good to know, right? Like even if you're working on your Cleveland project right now,
yeah,
as you're talking to people, especially people in our group too, like,
mhm,
having those conversations, like the question should be to me is you're going, okay, well, James just said will invest in deals with operators. That's kind of what I'm looking for. It's about going, hey, James, so what do you look for in an operator? What kind of deals do you like?
mhm,
Um, what kind of return do you like to make when you invest in a deal? That's the question we want to ask, because if I go, well, if I'm putting money in a deal, I want to make at least 15% of my money. I'm going to look for, as an operator, going, okay, well, let me find deals that are going to make 20% for this person, because then I'm over delivering every time.
mhm,
And then
okay,
it gives me like that dependable funding source right there. And
right,
so always still have those questions of, hey, if we did partner, what would you need? I'm going to say, well, Alicia, you're getting going operating in Washington. You're wrapping up a Cleveland project. How'd that Cleveland project go? What did you learn? How did the numbers variance? Where did things run over? Where didn't they didn't? Because I don't even care if people go over budget or not. It's like, how did they solve the
mhm,
problems? And how did they stay on it? And how did they fix things? Then my next question would be like, okay, so you built that all in Cleveland. What do you have in Seattle? Because if I'm going to invest in you, I want to make sure that my money's protected. And so I'm going to want to know, who's your contractors? How,
mhm,
when you perform a deal and you're saying it needs $100,000, how do you come up with that number? How did you verify that number? And,
using all your spreadsheets, of course.
using the spreadsheets, but then how do you find the people and go, okay, well, how did you find your
Yeah, the
contractor?
people's the hardest part, right? Yep.
And that's where I might say, well, hey, Leisha, I like you. I like what you did in Cleveland. What I'm going to need from you is you got to bring me a construction team, because you don't have that right now, and I do. And
Mhm,
go bring me your, and then you can educate me on, hey, I have this contractor. I haven't worked with him yet, but I'm out bidding projects with him. Here's his numbers coming in. I've
mhm,
vetted him this way. Here's 5 projects that he's done for other investors. Here's their addresses. This is what it was. Here was their numbers. And because your vetting of that contractor and bringing that to me is going to make me feel a lot more comfortable. I might be really comfortable with you, but if I don't know your contractor and it's new to you, that's where it's a lot higher risk on the deal.
yeah, absolutely, yep.
And so, that if we're going to want to attract money, then we got to find the resources first. The operators with the best resources are, and the ones constantly building their resources and tweaking them and fixing them. Those are the ones we want to be with. And because there's always going to be people that you need. And if you have a nonstop bench, if you have all the, so why
Yeah,
do I
depth
reach
of
out to
bench.
Raleigh? Raleigh has resources because he has staff. He has people on his own staff that he runs his own construction company. So I like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Then he also works with generals too that brings in. So he knows how to be efficient. And so there's just, I like that business model and I've got to see it in action.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. Thanks for taking my question.
Yeah. Are you military?
No, I worked at the shipyard.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
was
because
like,
I'm in
this-
Bremerton.
yeah, I remember
So,
you were in Bremerton. I was like, I
civil
don't remember you
service.
saying you were military.
No, I'm not. Correct.
Well, get done with Cleveland. Let's go make some money in Seattle.
Sounds good. See you soon.
You almost done with it?
Yes, I want to say a week and a half.
Have you
No,
learned
wait.
some lessons on it?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
The
so
list
this
is
is-
long.
So I want you to, as you're wrapping up, I want you to write like a little case study about it. What was your original numbers going in?
Mhm.
What happened? Where the numbers went off? Could you have fixed it, or could you have planned for it better up front?
Mhm.
Or why did they go off, and how did you do to resolve that? Right? That's what we want to start with first.
Yeah. Okay. Little retrospect.
Yeah, because we're always learning. Every project teaches you a lesson.
Right. All right. Thanks. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. All right, I see Purdy. I got a few questions in the chat box. Let me hit a couple of these real quick. Alicia asked, is a daddy totally separate house for sale? Different owners than the main house? Yes. So in Seattle and in different parts of the nation, you guys got to research whether you can do this or not in your area. A lot of areas in Washington are starting to adapt to where you can build a DADU, you run a condo overlay, and so you don't subdivide the lot, you do a condo overlay, and you can sell them separately as two different properties. Okay, I answered Nicole's question already. It says there's a dispo fee in addition to the agent fees. Yes, Maya, a dispo fee could be separate from the agent fees. It's just because it's inside, the agent fees are also calculated on there. And you can charge the dispo fee as well. Now, so on my deals, because I'm a broker, the dispo fee is my commission. But it's all built into that spreadsheet. And then Omar says, these numbers do not include agent commissions from your brokerage when you sell, correct? No, they are not. The commissions are totally separate. The commissions do deduct from the profit, but that's a separate thing. So if I have a partner deal and a broker brought it to me, I have a list back, I'm not making the commission. But if I secure it as the broker, I'm also making the commission. That's why it's also advantageous for me. CRE Inc. says, I believe the dispo fee would be the broker commission. No, you guys, the disposition fee is separate from the broker fees on this. It's basically like a bonus for the deal for when it sells. It's like a syndicator. When they sell their apartment building, they'll collect a dispo fee, but they still hire a broker to sell that building, and the broker still charges commissions. Says, what if you have been doing deals without adding fees? Now you start adding fees with investors. How do you explain this? Great question, Michael. So you guys, how do you retrade your deal? It's I've had to do this in my lifetime because especially back when you're new, you kind of give away a little bit more, right? We used to give away a ton when we were brand new. And then as we've gotten better and better, we're way less riskier operators. And we offer out less, but I don't want to offer my investor less, but we've already done really well by them, So Michael, if you've already raised the capital, you give away 50%, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I need to add in fees. They're going to ask why. And, you know, the thing is, when you're doing a 50-50 deal, you guys, and you're operating, it's really not 50-50 because you have costs behind your operations. You have accounting costs. You know, for me, I have project manager costs. I have assistant costs. We have all of our reporting costs. Our accounting's a lot in general. And so these are real costs. And for us to scale correctly, we had to start charging these fees because if not, I don't want to go hire more bodies and I'm stretching my people out way too much, which then gives my investor a riskier return. And so when we're adding in these fees, a lot of times, you guys, it's really our cost, right? Like 5% project management fees, pretty low in general. And so it's about scaling. And if someone's already invested in you and they've done really well, and you're going, you know, you got to communicate what your vision is too, because you know what they want to do. They're going to give you the money, they want to make a return. And you're trying to scale a business. And that's where you want to have go out and have lunch with them, have dinner with them and say, hey, look, this is what I'm trying to do. And we've done really well in these deals. And do you like doing these deals? Yes, I do. They're great. Okay, for me to focus on this and put 100% of my energy on this, I need to add in these fees so I can grow and protect your money. Because when I introduce fees to a lot of my clients that weren't used to it or investors, they're like, why is this? I'm like, well, you guys, you want to do more projects, right? And they said, yes. I was like, I need to hire more bodies. And the more bodies I have to hire comes out of my profit, not yours. So it's really not a 50-50 split anyways. And I just want to make it fair. And the more efficient we are, the more your money's protected. And when I explained it to them that way, they were totally fine with it. Because they're like, okay, cool. This engine for return for me is still staying on. And he's trying to scale this and make this better. But I'm not trying to do it in too lean of a way. You know, if you get too cheap and you don't pay enough in cost, the the deals go sideways, which then your investors' money gets very risky. And so you want to explain the benefit. The benefit isn't for you to make more money, it's to give you the money to where you can scale and protect their investment. Or do what Serena said. I'm just worth more. It's but yeah, it's you guys, I mean, it's there's nothing wrong with charging the fees, but you got to make sure the deal's there. Like, don't focus on your fees. Make sure the return and everything's good. The fees are a byproduct of a good deal. And if a deal doesn't make sense with the fees and it's a good safe deal for the investor, then don't do it. Alicia says, is there a preferred return of what you have to pay? Is there a preferred return of what you pay to hold the second loan to the partner?
I was
Alicia,
just trying to understand when you had the number there, it would look like 29,000. That was the preferred return. It was like in the parentheses. So I was wondering if that's what you're paying the person who's putting up all the money. Like that's
yes,
what you're paying out of your pocket at the end of the day.
yeah, but their preferred return, that 29,000 you're talking about, comes off the total profit, right? So the if you guys are doing a 50-50 split,
Mm-hmm.
their return comes off the total, not your side. Then it goes to the 50-50. So it's like a second mortgage on the property.
But if I'm thinking about like having that second loan, the holder of the second loan is paying kind of like all the costs on my first loan. So if I think about like what do I have to pay over the like every month, am I making that payment to the preferred loan, the second loan holder? So like if I thought about like my out of pocket through the time I'm holding the loan, is that how I think about it?
Yeah, the preferred return's paid at the end of the
Oh, it's
investment.
at the end.
It's at
Okay.
the end of the investment. It's accrued.
Okay. Got it. I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, if it's just a straight second loan where they're
Mhm.
not getting the equity, then that's kind of negotiable. Like on my seconds, depending on the size and the deal, I roll them a lot for people.
Okay.
You know, it's like they don't have to make a payment, but I charge them a little bit more. If I don't know the people, it's my first loan, I typically have them make the payment to me.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, got it.
Yeah, it depends on the operator because like for example, I did a deal for Ashley Care recently that I think she's paying me off on Friday. and I rolled all her interest, so she didn't have to make a payment to me. The reason I did that is because she was doing it as a burr. And
Mm.
so all the interest could be refied into that
Mm.
loan to where she really wasn't coming out of money out of pocket on the deal.
Super interesting. Okay.
And so if I would have had her make the monthly payment, that
Yeah.
money would have never been recaptured by the refi. And it just would have been cash out of her pocket. So when she called me, she goes, "Are you okay deferring payment?" I was like, well, I gave her some grief and I was like, "Why can't you pay your bills?" And then, but she's like, "Well, it's because I want to do this burr." And then I go, "Okay, well, can you send me over your pre-qual?" And then she was fully pre-qualified. I knew exactly what was going on in the refi, that she could pull out more even, but
Okay.
the lender wouldn't let her do cash out. And so it was better for it to be just rate and term, which that's why I deferred the interest.
Okay. That's interesting. Thanks.
Yep. And I'll usually charge a little bit more when I defer it too, because I'm waiting on my money. So I might charge, if I was charging her 12, I might charge her 13 on that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So Pretty, how are ya?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. How's your project?
Slow.
What's going on with it?
Uh, Couple of things. Yeah, we have been going back and forth on floor plan, and then uh, after talking to a few people, we decided like, oh, building permits is gonna be a pain in this county, so decided to not do the full building permit, but decided to do mechanical permits. But I do have some questions related to that also.
Okay.
So first thing is basically like, yeah, like the major floor plan thing was basically uh, the washer dryer placement, because originally, remember I told you we were thinking about putting it in the dining room.
Yes.
Yeah, so the way that you built it, we were thinking about doing it that way, but then when I actually did the measurements and stuff, it wouldn't work out in that space. And I tried multiple times and I just couldn't make it work in that area of the bedroom area. So I'm going back, I think, to putting it in the dining room again.
Okay. Do you have the floor plan?
I do.
Yeah, because I think last time we looked at it was right before I went out of town. I kind of mocked up some weird rough layouts for you, and then like have your architect put this together, and then we can look at it. But one thing I don't want to do, and you guys, we don't want to get stuck in floor plan overthinking, because then the project never moves forward.
Yeah, that's kind of what's happening
We,
right now.
we want to make a decision right now. We don't want to do that. You guys sitting there and overthinking the floor plan is, we want to get feedback from the builder. Is this going to cause us problem to do this? The architect will measure it out, make sure it fits right, and kind of make some adjustments. And then we can look at the finalized.
Do you always like bring an architect if things have to move? Like I was thinking of bringing an architect when I was thinking about pulling permits. Then I decided to not do the full building permit, so I wasn't sure if I still need to bring an architect in or not.
I don't. We just measure it and then kind of check it on site, just because I don't want to pay the cost.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but the contractor was saying the frame guy was asking for like blueprints to actually like start framing the new stuff.
I would ask your general contractor, do you need blueprints, or is it just spaces? Because the guy knows what kind of 2x4s and beams he needs in there. Usually the general should be able to figure that out and manage him a little bit.
Mhm.
But if it's a need, then I would do it. Because we want to make sure it's not going to get hung up too. So why don't, as you're pulling that plan, give me 1 second and then you can share it. I'm going to use the restroom real quick, guys, and I'll be right back. On calls. You got that floor plan? Oh, is this my floor plan? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, this is the one that you did. I just took a screenshot that day of what you did.
Okay, yeah, because these were kind of roughs based on. So did anybody measure this out and see if it would work, right?
Yeah, so that's what I did. Eventually, like I went back there, I measured everything, and then I was like, yeah, this is not gonna work, especially like the washer dryer because of the depth of washer dryer that we need. This hallway is gonna get like really congested because there's door
Okay.
everywhere. So yeah.
Um,
Wow. I mean, I can share the original one too.
no, I don't think I need the original one. So have you done any adjustments to the floor plan besides the one I mocked up?
Yeah, like I've built it multiple times based off of the measurements. I think this bathroom makes perfect sense. The new bathroom on the left that we are making,
Okay.
that makes perfect sense right there because all the measurements work out. The way that we are opening the door here works out perfectly. This other bathroom, the door opens on the other side for that right now, and I think I'm just want to leave it that way just because this door to the right on to the bedroom, this door,
Mm-hmm.
and this comes like way too close here because if we are since we're extending this bathroom a little bit to add a vanity, this comes like right here. So
Okay,
that's
can you put the
why.
measurements on this of how this is laying out? That will help dramatically. And then that way we can make a decision. Um,
Okay,
yeah,
so
because
this.
I kind of mocked it up and then I thought we were going to give it over to the. So what we'd want to do, you guys, is like with this and the as-built, I'd want to give this back to my as-built person and have them mock this up with measurements. So then I can go, okay, do these measurements really work out or not? And then make adjustments. Um, because this is kind of hard without knowing the actual spacing on, I guess that bedroom is 11.6.
Yeah, so I think pulling up the existing one will help with that because those ones are slightly
Prithvi,
off.
can you put measurements on this for me though? Because that or it's going to take us an hour to redo this again.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys, some of this stuff, because these calls, we can't do it like an hour on each floor plan. Obviously, it's so when we do it, then your homework is to go get it put back with all the and then go, okay, does this flow right or not? Because I still don't have the actual, like I was guessing on the measurements because I didn't have them exactly. And so what I would do is you could even take this, put that in your actual into ChatGPT
Mhm.
and go, can you measure this out and give me some options? And then it will tweak it a little bit for you. And then we can, because for like I'm looking at this and the bedroom's 11.6 this way. We need 3 feet for a door. It is going to be tight right here, but I would do an 8-foot bathroom because you could go tub, toilet, small vanity.
Mhm.
And if you have, it is going to be a
Yeah,
little
so
tight, but then how do we make it's like when we're dealing with like a game of inches, the measurements are very, very important to make a quick decision.
yeah, so actually let me share the existing one because that'll help and I can tell you the measurements too because now I know them like off of the
Okay,
top
but
of my
Priti,
head.
I got this the way I'm telling you to do it's the right way to do it.
Mhm.
And you won't be stuck looking at floor plans for 2 weeks if you do it this way. Because then you can make a quick decision.
Yeah, I'll put measurements on this
Okay.
one. Yeah, yeah, I was just saying just to quickly discuss the the washer dryer option, I was just gonna share the existing one just to show you like how things are not working out in this space. If that's okay.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so basically we are converting this bedroom into the bathroom. So so this is like 810 right here. And then this is exactly 10 until here. So basically this bathroom is gonna be like 5 feet of shower. And
So
then
what's the dimensions on the bath though? It's 5'4" by 6'3", and then what's the depth
it's
on that closet?
actually not that, it's actually 5 across. And then yeah, it's 6'5" here. And then if we take this inside, it becomes so it's adding a 1.5 feet, so it becomes 8 right here.
Okay.
Yeah, so this bathroom then works as it is
Have you
perfectly.
hired an as-built person yet?
No, I actually wasn't even sure like who that person is.
Does your general contractor have? They should have one.
Okay.
Or if you go on Fiverr or Upwork, you can usually find one. Here's what's happening right now, though, because we don't have a good set of plans and measurements, and they're
Mhm.
off. Because, I think we looked at this 2 weeks ago, roughly.
Mhm.
And then if we hire the right person to come measure this stuff out and mock it up with us, we can get
Mhm.
this done in like a 3-day period. And sometimes people don't do it because they don't want to spend the money, but then the interest that you're paying alone is way more than what that costs.
Yeah, for sure.
And you guys, the reason I'm saying this is I've done exactly what Purdy's doing. It's like this is the way we got to you guys. Time on the deal is bad. It kills the deal. So we got to. And when you have a funky layout like this, that's what I was like, hey, this is a rough mock-up. Give it back to an as-built person that can put measurements on, and we can make tweaks. Then we can make a quick decision when we're guessing off measurements that, especially because I haven't been inside the house. And
Mhm.
for me to give good advice, I need good measurements.
Mhm.
I won't even look at a floor plan for my team unless there's measurements on it.
Yeah.
Because what happens is like we'll mock up a floor plan like we did, and it takes some time, and then it's not right at all, and then we're basically starting over again.
Yeah.
And so you guys, your as builts and your measurements are very essential. It's not as big deal when you're like opening one kitchen wall and the bedrooms are all where they are, but we have a bunch of weird shaped spaces in this house.
Mhm.
And if we don't have, that's what the framer is asking for, not just blueprint. He's like, well, what's the spacing? Where am I putting walls? If they have a bad plan, it's going to get framed all wrong too.
Mhm.
And then the worst thing that can happen is us frame the house out and
Yeah.
the spaces feel weird.
Mhm.
And so with this house, I'm sorry, when we left, I was like, hey, get an as-built person, put them, it's important because this is the blueprint for your project.
Yep.
And we kind of have a small house that we're trying to configure a lot of different spaces in with some different shaped walls. And if we
Mhm.
guess it, we're going to guess wrong.
Yeah. And that's why I did all the measurements, and then yeah, that's why it's just yeah, but I can get like somebody on Fiverr or somebody to do
'Cause-
it, or just check with the contractor.
Yeah, because honestly, when you're telling me the measurements, if I'm not seeing them, I can't really give advice because I'm like, wait, what's this wall? Or it just,
Mhm.
and so if you can get the measurements on there for me, then I can kind of tweak it a little bit better and give you, because I'm going to give you some advice right now. It's going to be wrong again.
Yeah. Okay.
Because when I mocked up that floor plan, I was going off these measurements originally, and I guess they're wrong too.
Yeah, they're like 2 inches here and there off mostly.
Which on a small house, the 2 inches matter quite a bit.
Mhm.
Like sometimes
Yeah.
you're like, I wish I had 3 more inches and I could do this, and it's or 6 more inches here. And so that would be my recommendation, is to do that.
Okay.
Because we have a weird shaped house, so we want to hit this right. And also it's going to keep your cost down if we have the right measurements in there, because we might be able to keep some walls rather than move some. And, like if we wipe all the walls out, we can make the best floor plan ever, but it's going to cost a lot. And so knowing where those walls are will help you keep your budget down. And also it will keep you out of permit problems too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Quick question. Apart from that, okay, that was actually the question of how, like, who does the blueprints when we are not actually pulling the permits?
Well, they wouldn't be blueprints, they're just as built. So if you go on Upwork or Fiverr, or Victor did something on VAs and how to do floor plans and design with them on a recorded call. You can go in and use even QB Casa,
Mhm.
and then that will measure things out a little bit accurate for you. It's going to still be a little bit off, but
Yeah, this one is from Kubicasa.
oh, this is QB Casa. Okay,
Mhm.
it might, and that's where it's not always perfect, especially when you get kind of a strange house with just walls going different ways. Um,
Mhm.
does your general contractor should have an as-built person?
Yeah,
Have you asked them yet?
he did say he has somebody, but he was saying that person cost almost as much as an architect. So I was like, I don't know if it's the right person I'm talking to.
So I would go on Upwork.
Mhm.
There's that's usually a good spot to look.
Mhm.
I would post it in your local Colorado Facebook, like, hey, who do you use for as-built? There'll be tons of people
Okay.
there. Um, but yeah, we don't want to reframe a house without great measurements.
Mhm. Yeah. So for mechanical permits, so I asked the contractor to get mechanical permits, but then he was saying that usually there is like some specifications, like if you're not moving the plumbing like more than 35 feet, you can, like, even if you don't pull a plumbing permit, it doesn't matter. So I was like, is that really true, or is he just trying to get away from even pulling mechanical permits?
Well, I guess my question would be, why pull a mechanical permit if you're not pulling electrical and plumbing?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I meant, like pulling all the plumbing, electrical, and HVAC permits instead of pulling the building permits.
That depends on the city that you're working in. So, for example, in Seattle, I can pull electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and kind of get away with that on a certain size project. If I
Okay.
try to do it on the same type of project in a city like Kenmore, which isn't far from Seattle, they're going to come out there and they're going to look for 2 seconds and go, "Where's your building permit?" Because all the permits are on one. So it depends on the city that you're in. And that's why I talked about in Project Flip, how whatever city you're working on, you want to call the city and see how their inspections work and what they do, because it works in Seattle because a lot of them are done through, public health for plumbing, or, depends on who's doing the electrical. Sometimes it's outsourced. In Tacoma, it's Tacoma Power, not the building department. So they're not all in one. If they're all in one city, it's many times difficult if the inspectors are going to come out there, because they're going to see all the new framing anyways and go, "Where's your framing permit?" Because they do all the inspections, and every city and every county is different. And so you have, like, the way I do permitting in one city, if it's right next door, I might do it a completely different way because of how they operate.
Okay.
And so there's that. Permitting is so city specific.
Okay.
And, so the question to ask the general is, you know, I call the city and see how it works, like who's doing the inspections. But if what is his experience is if they come in, they see a bunch of framing and demo and things moving around because you're moving a lot of walls around, is that going to be an issue for the building permit? And if he's like, yeah, it's going to be it, because what could happen is you pull those other permits, you go through and they go, where's your building permit? And then you got to go back into review at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're just kind of sitting there where it would have almost been better just to submit for permits and start the work. And then hopefully when the permit rolls out, you're almost ready to call inspections too.
Okay.
But it depends on who the city is and how they operate.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to some architects also, and then they were like, yeah, this county is the most difficult to deal with, basically, for everything.
But difficult in what way? Because they're slow or because
They're
they're
really slow.
and but them being slow in some of the most difficult cities that for permitting timelines that I work with,
Mhm.
the inspectors are the coolest on site and they're the easiest to get through the inspections. And
Mm.
so it just depends on, like, does difficult mean if they come out and you have an electrical plumbing permit, are they gonna be like, where's your building permit difficult? Or are they gonna go, yeah, your electrical plumbing looks good and leave?
Okay, yeah, I
And no
mean,
one has a crystal ball unless they know that city or they've asked that process.
yeah. The contractor told me that they won't cause that issue. They have worked in that county before. So that's why we landed on just pulling those permits. But
Okay.
yeah, now he was saying like we probably don't even have to do that if you're not moving the plumbing that much because we are building a new bathroom just right next to the existing one.
That doesn't sound right to me. It's
Yeah.
yeah, if it's that's like you're doing a lot of plumbing work and all the plumbing's really old in the house, right?
Yes, it's all galvanized also.
And you're replacing most of it,
Yes.
then that's would need a permit technically.
Okay.
Yeah. It's if he's not worried about the building inspection, then I would do that route, but he's right like it's either you fly with no permit or you do whatever the city needs you to do, right? And each city's so different. You got to kind of model it that way.
Okay. So another thing that came up after we opened up things is uh there there's no beam in this. It's a single story house. But there isn't a lot of like there's no load bearing walls, it seems. Everything is sitting on 2x4s. So I was wondering, like, do I need to get a structural engineer to look at things here, or can the contractor just, because he was saying we can just like put new 2x6s or 2x10s on that, and then we should be good to go from there. But I was just worried about like, what does that
But
mean?
what like the whole house either is going to be framed with trusses or
Yeah, so
there's got to be something going on that's holding the
yeah, so
support
the
somewhere.
trusses that are coming down are all sitting on 2x4s.
Okay, so there and he's saying to put 2x6s on the walls.
So he's saying instead of those 2x4s, we can make them like 2x6s.
I'm not following. Where would the
He
2x6s
was
go?
just saying provide like extra support on those and just like make it a little bit better because everything sitting on 2x4s is not good.
Did they rip the structure out of the house already? Is it down to a shell?
No, it's not down to shell. He just looked at like the attic portion of it, and then some of the framing that we took out is all 2x4s at the top.
I'm not following. Do you have pictures of this?
Mm,
Because if the house was built with a roof line that way, it's fine. Because
mhm.
you're not taking out where you would need to brace up is if you're taking out a structural beam or there's a main load point running through your house. I don't imagine that's correct that there's nothing hold, I mean, unless it's just, it depends on how the ceiling would be like, you know, there are vaulted ceilings that don't need support in there, but it would depend on the framing. Oh, did we lose you? Okay, I think we lost you for a second. So, Maya and then Eric. Oh,
Am I supposed to go?
sorry, I lost.
I'm
Priti.
Maya.
Yes, sorry.
Did you call me?
Yeah, hold on one second, because Priti had frozen for a minute, and so I hopped over.
Yeah, my connection dropped. Sorry. Uh, yeah, I can probably like post. I think I have a video somewhere, but I can't find it right now. I can post it on Facebook probably.
Okay, yeah, that kind of stuff, you guys, if you're framing questions, I gotta see it, because it's the houses are built so many different ways that I can't give you a good answer because I don't know what it is. It all kind of comes to the framing. Adding 2x6s to a ceiling doesn't really make any sense to me of why they would do that. I mean, I could see it for insulation, but I need to know if it's trussed, where like there's something holding it up, whether it's the stick frame or truss framed, and I don't know why he'd want to add more weight to the two, because if you add a 2x6 to the ceiling, it's still not really supporting it any better on the run. So I got to see what it looks like.
Yeah, I don't think he was talking about the ceiling. Maybe he was just telling about like adding additional framing on the the ones that are coming down from those angles. Like yeah, I can show you the video. I just can't find it right now.
Okay. Yeah. If you could, yeah, you guys, so anybody hopping on the call, like when we have these questions, because they definitely are a little bit more technical, if we can just come with, hey, here's the pictures, this is what we want to look like, so we can be efficient. Oh, did we just lose her? Oh, oh no, you're still here. Sorry, you're kind of losing me again. But yeah, I do need photos for this, because there's just so many different ways a house can be framed, and what you're saying doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like, where does he want to add the 2x6s?
Yeah, I don't know.
And
I'll
then,
just
because if he
find
also
that
wants to add them
somewhere.
to the exterior walls, that's going to shrink all your spaces more too.
Mm-hmm.
And then our tight floor plan is going to become a more tight floor plan.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just find that and probably post it on Facebook when I have that.
Okay, yeah, and if you even have still pictures, that almost is better for me than videos. Post a video if that's what you have, but you guys still pictures, I can kind of zoom in on things and look at things a little bit better than I can on a video. And so that would be very helpful. But Priti, I want you to focus on getting an as-built guy right now. This is really important for this project.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on that immediately tomorrow.
Okay, and then if they get those plans, post it in the Facebook page, and I will look at it. I'll look at it.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Maya.
Yeah, thanks, James. So I have questions about a couple of things. I think you already answered one, that is, about telling Serena about, writing down everything from start to finish and where we were in the beginning versus at the end of the project. So that's where that's where my question was, like, being this as my first project, I'm giving a little leeway for myself for if I did something wrong or went over the budget and things like that. So, but I am over the budget. So how my profit on paper is not too bad, and I'm willing to lose some money on the profit because I learned a ton of stuff in this project. So how should I rate myself for going over the budget, and does it happen for as we experience more, how much should I stick to the budget? I mean, I know I need to stick to the budget. That's not what I'm asking. How much of leeway I should give myself to feel a little more comfortable taking on the next project. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So how much was your original budget?
70,
And what are you at right now?
75, it might close at 80.
Okay, so it's about 10% over.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it'd be good to throw, the first thing we want to do is we were at 70, and then who created that budget for you? That was you created that?
Yes.
Okay. And then your final numbers, where is the $10,000 in creep happening? What was the unexpected?
The unexpected is the landscape.
Yes, you guys, landscape's a big one right now.
Yeah. So that is increased by 5,000 almost. And then I hired the wrong person. I hired the landscaper for French drain, and he did it wrong. Now I need to fix it with the plumber. So that's where, so two things went over budget for me.
Was the French drain originally on the plan, or is this something you missed?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Well, good catch on that, because that's something people miss a lot.
So
Okay,
with
so
French drain, I hired the landscaper because he only quoted $1,000, whereas the plumber quoted $5,000. So now what the landscaper did is he just put the French drain at the side of the house, not going below the foundation. So
it's too high.
it was too high. Luckily we had some rains last week, so I could see it didn't work. The French drain didn't work. So we have to dig 2 feet of dirt completely and then redo he needs to go down by another 10 inches. And the plumber had to bring a different curtain drain, and he did that. So that's a huge lesson I learned, that I didn't know you have to go below the level of the foundation.
Yeah, and you would think the guy bidding it would know that too. $5,000 seems very expensive for a French drain. Because that's
Yeah,
what it costs us for about to put an interior drain in a house. $1,000 seems reasonable. One thing I would have maybe done on that scenario too is with the landscaper. Did they give you a refund for the $1,000 or no?
Well, it was so hard to ask him for refund, James. That's where me and my husband kind of have, controversies between us, because that guy, that poor landscaper guy, really dug the whole thing, and I saw him do the work, and I can't take it back from
But
him.
he did
And
it
I
wrong.
feel very awkward to bargain with him.
No, what I would have done though is I would have called the landscaper and said, "Hey, look, unfortunately, this is done wrong. I got to pay a bunch of money to fix this. Because one thing on a plumber, for them to dig and trench, they charge a lot for that, right?
Yeah.
Because of their hourly rate. I would have gone to the landscaper, say, hey, I paid you $1,000 for this. I know you put in a lot of work, but unfortunately, you charge me for something that's not right. Good news is I don't need you to give me the money back, but I'm trying to mitigate this loss because I would have tried to have the landscaper dig the drain out for the plumber and see what the plumber would have came down on their pricing too, because they might have gone down to like $3,000.
That's what I did the second time.
Oh, so the
Second
plumber didn't even
time,
dig it and it was $5,000?
no. Second, well, that was the initial bid. So the second time, so I paid $1,000 for the landscaper, right? For the first time. And then I paid him another $1,200 for the landscaper to dig everything out. And then I paid $1,200 for the plumber.
Okay, got it.
But
Wait, so
for
the
me,
landscaper charged you
2,400,
the landscaper charged you to dig out his bad work?
yeah.
You can't do that. That's you will get crushed on your projects if you have to pay people to rework their bad work.
Well, me and my husband had a little fight about that because he says, this is your business. And I say, poor landscaper, he worked hard digging.
I really appreciate that you care about people because that's important in this business. But if you do this, you will get ran over in this business, unfortunately.
I don't know.
It's
It's
because
very hard.
yeah, but at the end of the day, he still charged you for work that it wasn't done correctly, right?
Right.
And it's not that you wouldn't pay him, it's that the work's not done. Either he needs to come back and fix it to where it's done correctly, or at least help out with the repair expense that you have to do.
Okay.
And I think or I would have made him do a bunch of extra free things, because sometimes I don't want to give the money back, but I'm like, well, you dig this out for me, and then can you do a little gravel pit, fire pit for me for free, right? Because it's easy, labor's easy for them to trade rather than give you money back. And just because you're doing the right thing, you're not making it. I mean, as a business, if you buy something and you don't get it delivered, you don't need to pay for it, right?
Right.
And just because it's kind of like us as flippers, if we buy the wrong deal and we go way over budget, and then we go to sell the house and we go to the public and we go, hey, yeah, I'll sell to you this because that's my break even, but it's way over market value. A buyer's not gonna be like, well, they worked really hard on it. I'm just gonna overpay you because you worked hard on it.
Yeah.
And so you're never gonna get that back, unfortunately. And so you have to be a little disciplined with it. And you can do it in ways where you can work with them on it. You don't have to be like, just fix this or give me the money back. It's like, okay, well, I have to pay an additional money here, so you got to help me control this cost. And or like the landscaping, I would have, can they do a little bit extra somewhere? Be like, well, all right, well, I'm gonna go buy some more plants so this looks a little bit nicer. Can you install them for free or something? Get something back out of it.
Okay, so I still have a lot of projects for him, but he's asking more, so
Yeah,
I
unless you already cut it down.
did this.
Yeah, so I would
cut out the last one.
and you can or bank it on the next time. It's like, you're gonna owe me a favor because it's kind of too late now. But it's just you
Yeah.
can't make this a habit or you'll get crushed on these houses.
Alrighty, so that's where my weakness is. I mean, if they have done the physical labor, I cannot, in my conscience, I cannot bargain with them. If I put it to myself, the fault lies in me for hiring a landscaper, not knowing how to do. The fault I wouldn't put the fault on him. So anyway, that's something I need to deal with.
And so going back to your question, what I would do is if this is your only experience, maybe next time put at least a 5% contingency on. And then, what we want to do is go, okay, why are we over budget? We miss budgeted the landscaping, and that's okay. Next time we just know to increase it,
Mm-hmm.
And what else did you go over on? Was it mostly land? I mean, I guess the landscaping was 50% of it.
But landscaping, but, also I didn't budget for, overseeding and all that, retaining wall, which took about 3.5, and overseeding is like 500, and all that. I didn't budget. I wasn't going to do the retaining wall, but my agent said, if you want, you want more money for this project, and this would be really helpful if you want more money for this project. So, and then couple other things inside went wrong. I had to fix the electrician, fix the work that my subs did on their own. They did the electrical work and they didn't do it by code, so I had to get that fixed. And so, yes, I learned a lot of lessons, but I just don't want to feel bad to go to the next project. That I want to go with a fresh slate, and then I want to feel like, oh, I learned all this, I can do better. So that's my, something that I need to work on.
It sounds like it's more accountability on people doing incorrect work than anything else.
So
because a lot of it is not missed on your budget, it's redoing work that people did incorrectly.
So my hiring process was wrong. Can we say that?
Maybe a little bit. The landscaping's one thing. I think, what was your original landscape budget for the house?
Initially I had 5, but it's going up to 10 now.
Okay. And 10 does seem aggressive.
For a little project like that, yes.
I think you need to find a new landscaper. He seems expensive and doesn't quite do his work correctly.
Okay. Okay.
I don't spend 10,000 on my yards very often. And I would say our average landscaping bill is like 5,000 to 6,000. And if we're doing like a major one, it's about 10, but we're putting in a lot of sod.
With sod, you do 5,000 in Seattle area? My God, this is in nowhere.
That's why I don't like this guy, and I don't know him. And he might be a hard worker, but he's charging you way too much.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, landscaping is definitely something you want to get multiple bids on. Because sometimes, I'll get bids at like 20 grand and I get it done for 7.
Okay. Yeah, I budgeted for 70, but I was hoping I would finish it in 60, but that didn't happen. That was because, a lot of the projects I didn't include. So that's my fault, but that's okay. That's not a bad thing. But then I have another question about the topic that you were talking today about. So you were talking about pref, the percentage for like a hard money percentage plus equity, certain percent of equity. Now, what I didn't understand is that percentage, the pref percentage, is in addition to hard money loan? Because they're not funding the whole amount, are they?
No, on that scenario, the investors coming in, like if you get a hard money loan for 80% of the total project, the pref money would be the cash. What I was talking about was the down payment money and all the carry costs, the cash required to do the deal outside of the loan.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And so, the pref is, it's a way to give, they're basically a secondary lender that gets some equity in the deal.
Got it. Okay. So, yeah. So those were my questions for today. Thank you.
Yeah. And so I want you to go through your budget, notate what you missed, and that's okay. We miss stuff all the time. And then we know what to scale up for. I would get some more landscaping quotes next time.
Mm-hmm.
Because the guy sounds expensive and he doesn't warranty his work, which I don't like. I mean, if you charge me that much for landscaping, he's gonna fix that front drain. I can tell you that much. If he charged me like a couple $1,000 and it was a really good deal, I'm gonna give the guy a break, for sure. But because the landscaping shouldn't be 20% of your budget. And just for the pictures I saw in the comps we were looking at, it seems like that's an aggressive number. So I would requote that, and then figure out what do we miss on, and then I would, for your next project, I would throw a minimum 5% contingency on there as a buffer, because you're going to learn some lessons, know what to price next time. So it might not be 10%, but I would do 5% or 10% on top, and just make sure, as long as you like the numbers that way too, you're like, well, it's still a good enough deal. Then you have that room to work with.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hopefully I should be done in 1 week, and if everything goes right from today until a week.
But you got to post it. We got to see what it looks like. That was pretty fast.
I hope so. I'm just waiting to do that.
Well, almost go time. It's almost showtime.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things at the very end. I see that. See, this is not what I have experienced in bursts. The last minute preparations are way too much here in the flips.
It is, because you got to make it look good and punch it out. And yes, and there's all that little detail work that the contractors blow through, and then you got to get them back to finish.
Right. Yeah.
So don't pay them the full amount until it's totally punched out.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And you're not being mean. You're being reasonable.
I don't know. I have I don't know how to be a business person.
Well, you've worked your whole life, right?
Yeah.
Would you expect to get paid if you didn't finish the job?
No.
Okay. So, and that's very reasonable. And so you can always do it in a nice way too. Like, hey guys, thank you for all you did. I'm just going to hold back this 2,000 until you wrap it up. I can't wait till you're done, because then I'm going to bring you the check right now.
Right. Okay. Alrighty.
Yeah. No,
Thank
the more
you,
you do
Jay.
it, the meaner you're going to get. I can promise you that, because I was all the same way. Now I'm very stern because I've dealt with this too much.
Right. But I think I need to get some chisels on me, chiseled out, basically.
You will.
Alrighty. Thank you very much.
Yep. Eric and then Nikki.
Hey, what's going on, James?
What's up, bud? How are you, man? How's biz?
Man, going well. I know last time we talked, we were looking on deal flow, but right now I have 4 projects and have a good property I've been praying on, manifesting, which I'm excited because Pretty and Nikki kind of asked the right questions already, and you were answering a lot of my questions that I had. So I appreciate you guys. So today's class was great. It gave me a new perspective on JV and how to structure those deals better. But yeah, my question is for the finance question. Say if we're going like hard money, doing a construction draw, and for some reason like we get better terms on like a rate and term instead of a cash out refi. Say we're looking to do a burr.
Yep.
It is. Will say if we pull a construction draw, will they finance that as a rate and term?
If you pull a secondary loan out,
Yes. Yeah. Say this hard money lender is willing to do like a construction draw, and then we pull that out at the end of the project and then go to my long-term lender and do like a rate and term.
yes. So because it's in the original loan as a construction holdback.
Right.
Yes, as long as it's inside that first original loan when it's funded,
Beautiful.
there won't be seasoning on it. If the lender, let's say you hit it for a secondary loan for the loan, there's going to be seasoning on there it needs to be on there for a certain amount of time, and that would you
3 to 6 months.
Yeah, you want to find out from your lender, like, hey, how long is your seasoning so it doesn't qualify as cash out?
Yeah,
But
I
if
believe
it's in the
it's 3
construction
months.
amount, you're good.
Okay, so if it's an original hard money that we closed on, we should be fine when I do the draw
Yes.
later on.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's in that, because when it's recorded,
Man.
the original note amount's in there.
Man, I just left all this money up in the deal. My hard money was coming due. The term was coming due. So I had to do rate and term. Last minute, some things messed me up on the cash out. And so I had to do rate and term. And I left like 150,000 in the deal just to close it. But it really messed me up. It was one of my buy and holds.
Yeah.
I
Well,
know.
can you can you refi it now?
I can refi it now, but I'm not sure if I want to because man, after somehow, some way during that time I locked in like a 5.8 interest rate.
I remember you talking about this loan.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a good loan.
Yeah, so conventional and man.
Is it owner occupied?
No, it's an investment.
Investment.
Yeah, I have two tenants in there now. So it cash
Guys wanna
flows
open?
tremendously.
Can you move in there for 30 days and then pull a HELOC on it?
I could try. It's just not too far from my primary, but we could probably structure it, you know.
I talked to your mortgage guy and say like, hey, if I wanted to move into this investment property and call it my primary, how long would that take for me to establish that for time? And then can I pull a HELOC on it?
Right. So I just, you got all the moving parts. And then my primary now, I'm doing what you always suggest is like living it for 2 years and then sell it and then avoid capital gains up to like 250 or, when I'm married, 500.
Yep.
So I don't want to mess that up too because I have a ton of equity in this one. But yeah, so that's exciting because I'm gonna definitely pull cash out, construction draw. And so basically my question is, and I'm gonna make sure that I, get an as-built person to draw up a lot of these plans going forward. And would the Matterport work for that? Say if like the Matterport draws the floor plan, measures the square footage?
It's gonna be a little bit off. That's the
Yeah.
problem. And and if it's a little bit off on like a split level house, it's not the end of the world because are you reconfiguring a lot of the house or is it like minor configurations?
No, not at all. Actually, would you mind if I show you real quick?
You can pull it up. You guys, what I was talking to Prithvi about too was she's doing a lot of moving things around, and that's why we need really good plans. If it's simple, you can get away with some of those other items. Like you can be off because the room was already built that way in itself, and it was fine. Weren't adjusting there. She has a lot of framing to do there. And it's also tight. And if we're off by 3 inches, it can really make or break the plan.
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay. Yeah, so for this property right here, I have, my baby's due in July. So I have a baby coming soon and I'm excited about that.
Congrats,
but
man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. The reason why I bring that up is because my goal is always to manifest like a buy and hold that, could cash flow and, pay it down. And that way they could inherit that property and either sell it or keep it, whichever they decide.
Yep.
So this one right here, it's in a prime location. I would like to burr it. So I'm just looking to maximize the property for, a buy and hold and just trying to see what would be the best angle. Because normally, like with these, we'll like leave them unpermitted, like far as any additions. But obviously, since I'm leaving it, I want to make sure it's just, you don't have to run into no um, problems later on.
Yep.
So let me see if I can show you. Quick.
Wait, so you're gonna permit the addition that wasn't permitted before?
No, so this property here, it's nice single family around 1,700 square feet, but it has a garage. I'm looking to do like an attached ADU and turn that into another unit, and then it's on 2.5 acres of land. So I would like to do a detached ADU in the back.
Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just trying to figure out what's the best way to structure it. That way, the inspector doesn't, ruffle any feathers with him when we go to do the detached ADU in the back.
Oh, that the house that you're working on was all done.
Yeah, well, the house, well, no, I'm in contract. I just manifested it, I just locked it up. So we'll be closing on it next week. So Monday we fund and then Tuesday we'll record. So I bought it we're in contract at 440. And I just got the hard money appraisal back and it appraised for like 750, but that's as is without any ADU play.
That's a deal.
Yeah, it's a solid deal. And like if I were just to flip it, I probably would just put about 60K into it and resell. But I would like to just keep it and do a rate and term because my construction lenders go give me 100K draw as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because you got the high appraisal, so they'll leverage you more.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Do I have to share my screen? So my main question is, what process do I take? Obviously, it varies by the city, but just give you a rough framework. Here's the property here. Here's like the main house. This is actually a nice trailer. It's 2-1, but I probably will have to remove that because it's not permitted.
The trailer?
Yeah. It's on stilts.
Does it have septic or anything, or what's it tied into?
Septic.
Is he got a bootleg septic?
Yeah, bootleg septic.
They might, it's kind of hard because they could call it for sure. They might be like, "What's that structure?"
Right. Give me like a substandard or something, huh? Slap a substandard on the property. So here's the front of the house. It already has like a fire hydrant, which is necessary for like the ADUs out here in California. And here's like the right side where the trailer is in the back.
It's a great lot for it.
Yeah, and it's perfectly positioned because the house is on the far left side of the lot. So all this is
and the zoning allows for an ADU, right?
Yes, they could allow say so this is the garage right here. And here's like I'm not sure if this is part of the living space included or if they just added that, which I'm assuming it is. So I would like to, basically they will allow up to 800 square feet because I already talked to the county. They'll allow 800 square feet as far as a garage conversion. And then I could do an ADU in the back. And then the lady was really, really cool. Then she was telling me I could even put a workshop and just eventually later on after they cross it off, add created it to another unit. She was giving me some stuff that she wasn't supposed to share.
Oh, the county is easy to work permits wise then.
Yes, yeah. She was like, "Hey, look, like
the opposite of what Purdy's going through."
Right. Right. They're a little bit slow, like what you were talking about with Purdy, is they are super slow, but they're a little bit more lenient and cool, pretty cool to work with.
Yeah.
So here's the main house. This is around 1,700 square feet permitted. There's like the bedrooms. They were using it as a grow, as you can see.
Oh yeah.
Here's like the primary bedroom, primary bathroom, closet.
It's all good spaces.
Yeah. So ideally, I'll probably demo this out, and this is what I wanted to show you right here. And then raise, because this is lower, is a step down,
Mm-hmm.
and then bring the kitchen out right here. Further out, I just have to kind of figure out the window situation. Reason being is what I want to see what your thoughts are. You got the bathroom, half bath. So right here, I'm thinking about bringing the kitchen out, demoing this wall. It's not low bearing or anything, so we should be good to go. And then drywalling this up and separating the unit that way, because once you go into here, leads into the garage, and that's what I would like to convert into a separate unit. So this and the garage, which they were using as a grow.
Oh yeah, they were.
So yeah, so this right here, basically we would like to demo it up, probably raise this foundation because it's on a raised foundation, and then bring the kitchen out, demo this up, separate the units so it's very nice, and then convert this a part of the garage conversion and so forth. And yeah, and then here's the back trailer. So I'm just trying to follow like the right steps to take with having to just deal with the county and the inspector, because it's definitely something that's now I'm not really used to dealing with the inspectors. We just push them through.
And so you're worried if you push this one through and then you go to build the ADU, they're gonna look at that?
Right. So like what I'm thinking is remodeling the front house right here. Sorry, this is the trailer. So remodeling this side of the house right here,
Yeah.
and then maybe doing the rate and term refi after, and
Yep.
just doing a construction draw so that way I have some money back, and then doing a rate and term after that into a hard long-term loan, so I'm not paying 9 to 10% hard money. So anyways, to convert this later on, but basically remodel this without having the inspector question anything, and then convert this into another ADU play, permitted, and then eventually later on, converting the back detached ADU.
I mean, honestly, you're kind of in the middle of nowhere out there, it looks like. And the house isn't that bad from the street. I mean, the roof's not terrible, the windows aren't terrible. I'd probably knock the reno out on it. I mean, is there a reason you're worried about the permits? Because I mean, even the electrical and stuff, it looks like the mechanicals are pretty good in this house.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. Everything checks off. I just would like to, give it more value later on and permit everything. Not that it's necessary, because we could get away with it, cash flow, but I would like to just add a separate meter on
for the other unit.
For this back unit right here, this conversion right here. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So now I got you. Okay, so if you permit that garage unit, is that going to affect whether you're going to get the detached unit in the back?
No, so they'll allow us to convert the garage as long as around 800 square feet, and then we could do a detached in the back. So that's what they said.
And the garage is how many square feet right now?
It's cutting it close. It's like around 700, and then this additional room, I have to make sure that it's part of this house and it's already permitted, because if not, then it'll open it up and we'll be right there around 800 square feet. So it could mess us up.
I mean, do you think it's worth more as an ADU though, or would it be better just to make like a little MIL? Because Because I look at resale, and if you're trying to sell those 2 units off, who wants to buy the house on the right if a portion of the ADU is inside their house anyways?
It's already attached. Yeah.
And so I don't know if there's going to be, I mean, the lot's huge, so you could put your dadu way in its own world, right? So
Right.
it
Right.
won't affect the house. Is it really going to add more value if you have a legit ADU on that property, or can you just make it an MIL and rent it separate?
No, resale, it's not gonna affect anything, like, because we'll be able to resell this without any issues.
Wait, and so does it add value by permitting that ADU? I don't know if it does.
No, the only thing I could think of is long-term wise, just with being separate metered,
Yeah.
not having to be all on all utilities. Because if I'm renting this front house out to another family and then this house out to like another separate family,
Yeah.
then they're all gonna be on, one utility,
You can do a sub meter though.
just sub meter it out.
Yeah, I just think it could cost because, and then also to do, so the questions to ask that city too is if you convert that to an ADU that was a garage before, what are they going to make you do on construction to get it there? Are they going to make that upgrade to 2x6s and insulation? Like, what's the requirements that's going to, because a lot of times they'll make you take that to new code
Mm-hmm.
and it could cost a lot more on the construction.
Like new code, like possibly solar and everything.
Yeah, and so you want to make sure that's not triggering. And maybe they won't, but I would definitely ask that question.
Okay.
Because I'm just trying to think if it's really going to add value to the property later.
No, I don't think so. As far as resale value, it shouldn't have any issues. I was just thinking long-term wise.
For rentability and simplicity.
Yeah, if we could just do it, just go through the hoops of bringing the inspector out and, paying for the permits. That way we sleep good at night and,
Yeah.
God forbid something happens to me, they don't have no issues to run into later on. Because it's a,
Yeah.
long-term play. It's in a highly desired area out here in our market. This is like the lowest turnover rate, the best neighborhood, even though this one has a slight dirt road.
This is what I would do. I would find out what the building requirements are to convert that to, like, what are they going to make you do to make it a legit ADU besides the permitting? Like, what do you got to do with your insulation, your framing? What if they make you sprinkler it? There's all these things that could trigger off that, or the dividing wall in the 2 units. Are they going to make you turn that into a 20-hour fire rated wall? And that could be expensive. And so find out what the building, you guys, this is really important when you pull this, like, because sometimes it makes all the sense in the world until you look at the construction. And some cities are really easy about it and some are not.
Yeah.
And so find out what the requirements are to do it. Because if it's a huge, and that's where you want to talk to your general contractor and then go over, hey, these are the requirements. What do you think that's going to cost? Then we can work it backwards that way.
Right.
Because if it's not going to cost that much more, and some cities are, I mean, it doesn't sound like they're that difficult, but if it's the building code and they're making you take it there, it could be a major, it could add an extra 30 grand, 40 grand into that unit.
Right.
Whereas if you kind of slam it out, put a kitchen in, make it rentable, call it a mother-in-law and sub-meter it, you don't have to go through all those hoops.
And just sub-meter, that way you could separate utility.
Yeah, because it's like what triggers it is adding an additional unit. And I was actually talking to somebody about this. They were doing a project up in Everett, and he's a really good condo guy, dadu guy. And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this. The deal's a home run." I'm like, "Hey, have you bought in that city before?" And he's like, "No." I'm like, "Dude, if you do that, they're gonna make you update your whole duplex to code." And he's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, they're gonna make you sprinkler that." He's like, "No,
Oh,
no, they
man.
won't. No, they wouldn't." But this specific city did. And even though Seattle, all these other ones wouldn't make you do it, but this one I know will. And I actually talked to him this morning. He's like, "Wow, you're right, man. That cost me," it was like an extra 50, 60,000 for him to do this.
Wow.
add in that unit, and he had no understanding of that.
Okay.
And I will say that city's requirements are pretty, they're nonsense to me, but that's why I don't buy up there and do those kind of projects, because it's just too much on the requirements.
Basically, like you're saying, just figure out all the building requirements that make it a legal ADU to see if it's worth it.
Yeah, just make sure there's nothing hidden in there that's going to make you, and then review it with your contractor and go, okay, what I would do is have the contractor bid it for the ADU now. Then bring him the requirements once you get that back and say, how much is this going to cost any more to do it this way? And then he can review it. But I would have him bid it first, because you don't want to say, is this going to cost more? And he just charges you more anyways.
Right.
And so bid it and then get the requirements and then bring that back to him and say, what's it going to cost to do this extra?
Okay. Yeah, I usually manage, owner build and sub a lot of my things out, but I have a few contractors I could get bids from.
Oh, well, if you're gonna sub it, then we can look at the requirements and see. Just make sure there's nothing in there. It could be really easy too.
Okay.
It's just that would be what I would look for on that. Like, what's those requirements?
Right. Because I could add a sub panel on this back unit. Because it's the garage, or was the garage. When we go to add the detached ADU in the back, I just don't want them to question this and then ring up all these bells and be a whole nightmare because they see I added another unit right here. It's not the garage.
I do understand. You could also permit it as a bonus space. If it's easier, but let's get the requirements first, and then we can go with that.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, James. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, so you guys, again, like what we just talked about, those are important steps. Is we come up with this plan, that plan could change throughout all different types of cities. And so he got a great deal no matter what, so it doesn't matter. But we want to verify that before we put it in motion, because we don't want to drown in those costs. And so, that's what you've already talked to the city, got the requirements, and then go, okay, so to take this to livable square footage, is it much different? What do you guys require? Is there any upgrades? Is it going to do anything to the house that we're doing? What's the requirements out of that? And it could be very low, but it also could be a lot too.
So when I go to the city, what do I need to basically what information do I need to come with to ask them the right questions on this particular one?
So I would say, hey, I got a house right now, and it's got this size garage, and then there's a little portion of the house that I'm going to encapsulate too. I want to turn it into a formal ADU. What's the requirements that are going to be needed for me to pull that building permit?
Yeah, and then will you allow me to do a detached ADU afterwards?
Yes. Yeah, and then we want to just find out what's the requirements, because the one thing that can also hurt is sometimes they make you take the entire house to new code by doing this. And then they're going to go, well, you need to upgrade this and this house, and that's what we want to stay away from, is that domino effect trigger. And maybe they won't, but let's ask that question, because if they're going, well, yeah, we're going to want you to sprinkler it, we're going to want you to update this, we're going to want this, and then you might be like, well, this ain't worth it at all.
Right.
It needs to go to solar, let's find that out. Because I know they're pretty weird about energy credits too in California.
Right.
Washington is too.
And then if not, we just sub-meter it.
Then you sub-meter it. And if you really wanted to be creative, I would leave the garage door on, finish out the units,
right,
for the permit. Once they get that done, frame it in, site it, call it
stucco, and then we're good.
Yes. That's because then you still get it done.
Off the record. Thank you, James.
Yes.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, James.
Nikki.
Hey James, this is regarding a house we bought for primary purpose majorly
Okay.
in Redmond almost 7-8 months before. and due to personal situation we could not move in. And now we are like it renting it out. So when we bought, we also had this in our mind, like, okay, this was a big lot, like almost 15,000 lot, and the primary home structure was like almost in the middle, but still there is was some backyard space. So we thought maybe later on, if we need, we can just short plat or do subdivision or something like that in terms of development. So now my question is, like, right now we are renting, and like it is also on the private road. So the rent itself is like almost half of the price of what mortgage we are currently paying. And we are like all in negative debt. So
Okay.
what would be our strategy in terms of, like, we have done survey, we have also got some feasibility. We can do development in terms of dividing in short platting in like multiple parcels. We are new to short platting experience, but like this is all we are talking about millions, and we cannot afford a very big like the investment at this point.
Yep.
We just wanted to have something where we should not run in negative debt, and maybe build something which may subsidize our negative debt issue here. Or like, can we, like, what is your advice? Shall we go short platting in whatever parcels we could, like 3 4, or in one shot, or maybe short plat in one parcel, and then maybe after few years when we could afford more, maybe then we can just short plat the remaining big parcel into whatever parcels we could. um so like, and also short plating is gonna take like 1 or 2 years. So so that
Yeah,
is,
Redmond is very long on shore plats.
yeah,
Yeah, a lot of developers won't buy there because of how long they take.
yeah.
Um,
They have affordable housing fee also, so which is
oh, there's
like,
affordable housing overlays on it?
yeah.
Okay, what, did you have the map you could pull up for me right now?
uh so like, you mean the um
Did they do a survey map? Or is there a map of it with the survey in the survey?
yeah, sure. Let me see if I can find out. I Sorry, I did not have it
What's the
handy.
address on it?
It's 7341 148th Avenue.
Oh, okay. So it's on the Bellevue or
Yeah,
148?
148th. Yeah.
Okay. What, sorry, what was the address one more time?
7341 148th. Maybe I'll try to see if I can find survey also.
Oh yeah, I'm pulling it up just so I can look at it a little bit too. Yeah, Redmond is very, very tricky.
Yeah.
A good sized lot. Okay, so they were gonna short plat this back half off, right?
Yeah, I mean, that is what we are thinking. Like, maybe we can just short plat in one parcel, but like, how to subsidize the negative rate? That's where I'm, so that we can scale and not just stuck with this property here. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so what you could do. Was the Whisper Home one?
Yeah.
Trying to see.
Or maybe increase the rent in some way, like currently it's rented like in lower end. So yeah, because we have done some basic cosmetic changes, but no like fencing or,
How
yeah.
much are you getting in rent right now?
So around 3,900.
3,900.
Yeah, since we
Okay.
rented out in like September, time frame, so the market was not super good.
Yeah, and rents in the east side just aren't as high either.
Yeah.
You know, I always call the east side is kind of rich guy real estate for rentals because it doesn't matter. It's just the rents just aren't that high compared to Seattle. So I'm just trying to get a visual on it right now so I can kind of give you good. Because you were going to short plat, so a way to get the cost down would be, yeah, the house does sit right in the wrong spot.
Right.
But one thing you could do is like if you could short plat this off, that's why I want to see the size of lot you're gonna get though, because it is tight.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have access, but then your dimensions look like
Yeah, so some of the portion is like patio and all that we can get rid of.
okay,
That
so you have to cut back the house a little bit.
yeah.
Okay. Because one thing you could do is if you can short plat it off, you can always sell that lot. If the lot's short platted,
Mm-hmm.
or something you can also, I don't know if Murray Franklin would do this, but builders will sometimes handle the whole short plat, and as long as they can close on permit, they will, because like let's say you could sell this lot for 900 grand.
Mm-hmm.
You take that, and I'm just worried about the dimensions a little bit and the depth. And so, but what you would do is you could sell that 900 grand, then apply it towards the house. And then all of a sudden, if your loan balance goes down by like 800 grand, 900 grand, you're all of a sudden gonna be cash flowing dramatically on that house.
Mm-hmm.
Because you guys owe, how much do you owe on it?
Yeah, maybe million plus 1.2 or so.
Yeah, so
1.1.
1.2. So like even if you sold, let's say you sold that lot off for it's going to be kind of a small weird lot, so let's say 800, which would be low, pretty affordable for that area. The 800 grand, you could actually take that and you could put 400 grand against your balance and take your payment down to like a balance of like 7 or 800,000 right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to get you to be about break even on it. Then you could take the remaining amount,
Mm-hmm.
and if you put that in hard money, that would pay you 3 to 4 grand a month on it. So then you're taking this house that went from negative to breaking even, and then taking the surplus and putting in a hard money fund that will pay you 3, 4 grand a month with it.
So hard money fund, I'm not very much clear. What are so
Or what?
so you mean lending out little
That
bit?
would just be a passive way to do it, or you could take 400 or grand. I would sell the lot, take the amount to get your loan to at least break even or cash flow like $200 to $300.
Mm-hmm.
Then you could take the remaining capital and even flip a house with it too and make more with it.
Okay.
And so I think the only way for you to get this down on your cost is going to be to short plat this lot off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see you getting more than one house back here though.
Yeah.
And it is going to affect the value of this front house quite a bit because you're going to lose a lot of your yard here is the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And in the east side, people want a yard.
Yeah.
But, if you can get enough out of that lot, it can just kind of remain a rental for a long time too.
Okay.
Because like, I wonder who built these right here. Let me see. I'm trying to think who would pay the most for this. Like Merritt Homes would be someone to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the only thing that you could do is cut the lot off, sell it, and then apply it towards the balance of the house.
Okay.
Because just that's gonna be the only way to really get that difference down. Because what's your current rate on it?
6.5 almost. Yeah.
Okay, well that's not terrible either.
Yeah.
I mean it's not great, but let's see. And is it a private road? So is there utilities on that road?
So we have to bring the utilities also.
Okay, so that's expensive.
Yeah. So many things are there, so we need to figure it out.
But you can also sell, like if you short platted it, you can sell it to a builder and allow them to close on permit on a long close. You're still gonna have to have that negative for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
But you could a lot of times a builder, if they're done with their feasibility, will release you the earnest money on it,
Okay,
which would cover your negatives for the whole year.
got it.
And then they will pay a lot more for the lot if they can, which they'll cover the cost of utilities, all those things, if they can wait to fund it until the permits are ready. I was trying to see who built these houses right here. I think it was Merritt Homes. Oh, it's Cam West. Okay, these were I know this. Okay, Cam West.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I want you to do, Nikki.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know anybody at Merritt Homes?
No, I've heard about it, but don't know.
The problem is it's just gonna be one little guy. How much is it gonna cost you to short plat it?
That we need to find out. Like we haven't done much in that.
Okay.
Mhm.
So get some quotes on that. Um because your surveyor can do it for you, right? That did the survey.
Yeah.
Okay, you have them give you a quote for that, and then we can kind of look at who, because what we want to do is find a builder that is okay. Because a lot of builders will put the money out if they don't have to buy the whole lot up front. And
Right.
and so we can make it a scenario. My thought is if we want to get rid of the negative, we get them into earnest money that's releasable after feasibility. You don't make them close until the lot's ready to build. And they're
Mm-hmm.
going to do all the cash outlay on it. So the earnest money will cover your negatives. And then once the deal closes, that's where you could apply it towards your house and then refi it. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's going to take your payment way down at that point. And you'll probably have some extra surplus that you could invest in other stuff.
Got it. Yeah. Also looks like a strategy. I will also like discuss this with my husband, what he sees, his opinion.
Could you say that again? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, all I'm saying is like that sounds like a strategy. I will check with my husband also, like what his opinion is. How do we want to proceed and whether we want to keep it and maybe switch later, like shift later, or go with the strategy you have suggested, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, who's this? So the lot next door, someone just bought that lot
Yeah.
for 165. They must be bringing in utilities.
That's what we were also thinking, but I don't know. I mean, nothing has been, some people just want to keep it.
Have you talked to that person?
No, we haven't.
All right. I'll call this broker right now. I know it's late, but we'll call him. How about that? So the best thing to do on this scenario is just to call the broker,
Okay.
the selling broker, Alvin Gao.
Mm-hmm.
Alba. Let's see. Let me see. Because they obviously have money because they just bought a lot raw, which not a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I'm doing this because we're at the end of our call, so I'm like, I can mess around with this for a little. We've all done this though. We bought properties and we're like, oh wow, it has a great master plan, but the short term kind of sucks, right? Because you have to bleed it. It bleeds out money. And hold on, let's see what they say.
Yeah, but like also like we haven't decided, just wanted to understand like we haven't decided whether we wanted to actually shift there, like since it's a good location. So those things are also there. So maybe what maybe I can do is like reach out to Elva. But like right now we are not sure whether we wanted to shift or maybe what strategy you have suggested. But yeah, I will get more details once I connect to this person, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, give them a call and just say, hey, we're the neighbors next door. We just want to know what your client's doing with the lot.
Mm-hmm.
Don't talk to them about your situation at all, okay?
Sure, sure.
And just
Sounds
say, hey, we're just kind of interested. And
mhm.
then because it could be very good information if they're going to bring the utilities in there.
Got it.
That will save a ton of money, which this is going to make your backyard worth more. And
Yeah.
typically, the person that's going to build on this lot will pay you the most for your backyard.
Okay.
So, but don't tell them about your thing about selling the backyard. We want to take this in steps.
Okay.
Just say, hey, we're just wondering if you're going to be bringing in utilities or what the plan is. We want to be super good neighbors and just kind of what you're doing.
Got
And then
it.
based on what they tell you, we can take that information and go, okay, here's what they're actually doing. And then that's gonna because that person might pay way more for your yard than anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Because they might be able to get an extra, they can put a road in here and then they can bring it this way. It actually might make less impact on your current house too.
Mm.
And so the silver lining is this was just sold. And now we want to figure out what they're doing with it. And I think that's going to give us the best plan to kind of work backwards on.
Sounds good.
But the best thing that you could do would be to sell off the property, the lot, apply it towards the house, because there's really no other way to get that negative out of there.
Mm-hmm. Got
And you
it.
don't want to apply more money towards it because it's not going to be that great of a return for you.
Yeah, makes sense. Uh, but yeah, thank you so much for the suggestions. I will like check back with my husband also what he says, and yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. They bought this
Yeah, recently only.
yeah, there wasn't like a lot of information on the property either.
Yeah.
I mean, it says utilities are on 148th, and yeah, maybe they're sitting on it, but yeah, let's find out what they're doing.
Sure, sure. I have one more query, James. This
Yeah.
is regarding, so you were mentioning that whenever we are doing some framing or some work, we need some kind of permits, and it also depends upon the city to city. So let's say if we do little bit of like updates, like in terms of like cabinet extension or like wardrobe, making wardrobe bigger, where we need to also include like framing. We are not doing any change in terms of beam or kitchen upgrade or plumbing. So just trying to understand, even for increasing the size of the cabinet, do we need any kind of permit, or do we need to check back with the city, or we need to get the inspection done from the city?
For just expanding
The cabinet.
no, I wouldn't worry about that.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, that's because you're not really moving plumbing or anything around. You're just kind of adding on to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about that whatsoever.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense.
Is that for the Redmond house you were talking about?
I mean, in general, so we were actually just looking out and we were thinking, okay, what if we have to expand the cabinet or something, but we were not sure, like, okay, whether this requires a permit and whole lot of a things. So, yeah.
No, I mean the only thing that really requires permits is reframing a house, but like electrical and plumbing are the big deal of what kind of starts triggering those things.
Uh-huh.
And so if you're just doing like a cosmetic change on something and like adding on cabinets or even, I wouldn't worry about that whatsoever.
Got it.
Yeah, that should be because you're not moving any structural things around either. You're just kind of putting in some 2x4s.
Yeah, but what if we have to change the, like, let's say bathroom is facing east. Now we wanted to change it to west, like making another door and closing the existing side. Then those things need any, we are not touching plumbing or anything, just making the direction of the door of the
I
bathroom.
wouldn't worry about that at all because you're not cutting into any load bearing walls. You're not moving plumbing. Now, if you were gutting the bathroom and reconfiguring, you would need a permit.
Yeah,
But when you're just cutting in a doorway, you're going to be fine. You don't need a permit for that.
got it. Thank you so much.
I mean, technically, you need a permit for everything, but I would say 99.9% of people would not permit that.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, one last thing is, which is not related to this, but like so I don't know if you have students on H-1B visa. I'm currently on the visa, and not like in terms of scaling, my visa restricts me. So like, is there any like, do you know, or if you are aware, like how people are finding the loophole or maybe going with any partnership or anything?
Apart. So what is it, for your visa? You can't start another business. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. So my visa restricts me, and like it only allows me to be associated with the job. So yeah, that's where, like, if I want to scale, let's say in flipping or in any of the real estate, my journey. So I want to get rid of my job. So what
Got
is
it.
the best way for me? Yeah.
Okay, so you need full-time employment no matter what for your visa, right?
Yeah, but like I can be dependent on my husband's visa as well. But like for now, if before leave get rid of my job, if I wanted to scale in real estate, can like, do you have any folks which you are like, whom you are aware that they are on H-1B but they are still like thriving in the RE journey? So just asking if you are aware.
I don't, but I can ask my accountant, because he's familiar with it. I would think, because it doesn't prevent you from scaling the investment. It's about your working status, right?
Yeah, so like flipping comes under like business, right? And you also mentioned that it's better to have LLCs. And I cannot open an LLC on my name at present.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing I would do that should be a workaround for now is you could partner with people and do joint venture agreement to where you're the investor, not the owner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that you wouldn't need an LLC for that. You wouldn't need to establish a new business. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything that prevents you from investing in someone else's business, correct?
Yes, passive investment is fine for me.
Okay. And so doing, one thing now, let's say you're like, well, I want to make more. I don't want to give away a ton.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because let's say you joint venture with someone like me. I'm like, well, I'll give you half, but you got to put the money up. And you're like, well, I kind of want to try to build this myself.
Mm-hmm.
What you could do is you could work a joint venture partner with a contractor that you go in business with, and they're the ones going on as title. Like my contractor that I do joint ventures with, I give him 30% of the deal rather than 100 or 50.
Yep, yep.
You could do the same thing with them to where they're kind of running it. They're still charging you for the construction, but then you're giving them a portion of the deal. And so you look more like the investor and they're the owner.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that I can do.
I've done that with my 401k before because I'm not allowed to operate my own deal.
Okay.
And so I had the contractor buy the deal. My 401k lent them the money. And then the loan was set up with me making 80% and they made 20%.
Okay, okay. That's a nice strategy. Yeah. Got it.
But let me ask my accountant on that. It's if you wanted to quit your job, you could always go work for a real estate company.
Yeah, I really wanted to get rid of and just have some spend time with my kids plus go into a RE journey. Wanted to work for myself now.
But yeah, so how do you stay at home more with your kids, but you can't start an entity for flipping? And then also, is there a FERPTA tax that's due with you because you're on a visa if you buy it in your own name too?
So like what? What kind
There's a
of?
like when you're a non-citizen, there'll be like a FERPTA tax.
I never heard about it.
Oh, they'll hold back. It's like when you sell a property, they'll hold back like 30% of the proceeds
Yeah, capital
for
gains are there, right? You can
that's
do 31 exchange or capital gain taxes will be there.
yeah, it's like yeah, let me look into that too, because maybe if you're on a work visa, it doesn't matter. But I mean, one thing you could do is if you wanted to stay home, is it could be just partnering with people and coming on, even if you're doing some of the work too, but they're going on and you're coming in as the cash or as a
Invest.
joint venture, but you're not going on title. So your ownership is all based on an investment with the joint venture.
Mhm.
And that way you can still grow and scale and you're not creating a new entity.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, one initially maybe few flips are still fine, but like when it comes to scaling, obviously that comes into a full term business.
Yep.
That I will have to be dependent on my husband's visa and get an work authorization. Or maybe doing a partnership is a good option as well.
Yeah, because it's the partnership's probably going to be the best way to get around it for now
Mhm.
because you're allowed to invest.
Makes sense. Yep. Yeah. In case you find any partnership option, let me know. Like, I am still trying to figure out like who should I reach out to in um for joint.
What did you want to do on the partnership? Do you want to be on the more funding side or the operational side?
I want to be on funding side, but at the
Okay.
same time, I want to learn as well. Since I would like to take it as my like my passion as well. So yeah, I mean, while investing, I want to eventually learn as well. So maybe managing the project alongside.
So you want to be a passive investor in the deal, but be on the project too, so you can learn and develop yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. I um can I ask what kind of capital do you have to invest in it?
I can actually invest 100K plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see what I can do for you.
Sure. Sounds good.
There's definitely some good people in our group. Um, I'll I'll reach out to you separately. And we can talk about what that would look like with us too.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah, because definitely our team can. That's kind of what we're doing for like Dave Meyer right now. Like he invests in our projects, but he's learning too.
Mhm.
So he's like going and walking the job site with the team and all and now he's going to take on his first flip. And um, so why don't I'll shoot you an email. We can jump on a call and we can kind of talk about it.
Sure, sure. That sounds great.
Yeah, it's yeah, because then we can talk about the structure and how it'll keep you in the clean too. Because it's just the joint venture will be good for you. Or there's something else that I'm going to be rolling out to the group that I'm just having to spend a lot of money to create it. It's an equity loan
Mm-hmm.
where you're the lender, which you're going to be allowed to do, but then it sets it up as equity too, to where you're
Okay.
making a chunk of the profit. It's just it's a little bit complex docs that I'm having someone prepare for me.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, I'll reach out to you, Nikki.
Yeah. Sounds good.
and we'll go from there. Well, I think we're the late night call, so we're down to the end, and I'm gonna let everyone go.
Thank you.
All right, see you guys.
Thanks, bye.